for today, we're going to talk about generative AI and how generative AI could impact the business of companies and organizations. So it's a big thing for today. I have here some slides. I'm going to bother. So Singularity, what we do until now. So we are working, as you know, focused in data and AI, and how can data and AI can improve your business operation processes. So it's our main focus since the beginning, since we started the company in 2016. So our journey has been a very, very interesting journey. I think we are very passionate for what we do and all the things. We founded in 2016, then we made a very interesting platform for knowledge, for all the tourism information that you grab for the antennas, and a very, very innovative one. We received several awards for that. Then we started to build a team and create the first competence center. This one was the Power BI Competence Center, and then today is the Power Platform Competence Center. And it was made like 200 or something implementations in various sectors, with several customers, different customers. So it was very, very, very interesting for the market to have the first Power BI Competence Center. Then we made a very, very challenging project. It was the biggest project that we did. The whole trading system for ADP. So today, ADP, when it goes to sell and buy energy in the market, we use the platform that we designed them, we built with them. And this represents like 8 billion per year in revenue that they have using this platform. Just to give you an idea, in 12 seconds, it goes to the market to make transactions. Okay, so it's very, 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 very powerful and critical for their business. And when we made 5 years, we'll create our first book, how to build a data-driven organization with Daniel from US. It was the pandemic, so we had more time, just kidding. And then we give that knowledge to the market, to our customers, how to help them to build a data-driven organization and what business drivers for them. In 2021, we started to implement our framework of PMC, the Power Management of Peak, one of the biggest solutions, more important that we have. And we deployed it in several customers. This year, and after not even 1 year, as ChatGPT appears, we noticed that the technology, generative AI, and the OpenAI will change our lives, and we realized that it was very, very critical for us and for the business to create this competence center, to create competences internal the team to help again our customers to use generative AI to the business process. And we were the first one, and I think the only one company in Portugal that has a competence center in generative AI. So we started to work very, very, very often with our customers, and today we're going to present the last 6 months of work that we did with several customers, presenting about them, and the real use cases that we implement. So we figured out the time for this conference to talk about real use cases, okay? Things that are real, not science fiction. And during this year also, in the middle of the year, we had this fantastic award from Financial Times. We were considered one of the fastest companies growing in Europe. That proud us a lot. The only IT company in Portugal. Okay? And today, we're launching our generative AI book that we're very proud of, 160 pages, with all juice that we write. And I think they're going to help business decision makers to how to use and how to implement a strategy with generative AI. But I want to talk a little bit more about the book. We have a slot for that at the end, and we will sign the book for everyone, so we have copies for everyone. But also today, I don't know if you heard the news, we have a very, very good news to say and to inform the market. So our passion is here, but we're going to have a new chapter in our company lives. So I invite Sebastian to here to speak. But yeah, we just announced that we joined Devoteam. Okay. Sebastian is the global manager worldwide for Devoteam. He's in Portugal. He flies at 7:30 in the morning. Yeah. So thanks a lot, Sebastian, for coming here to listen and to be with us. It's a very, very, very important time for both.
Thank you.
And the floor is yours.
I won't be long. Actually, I feel a bit invited. I invited myself to your party, so I'm going to be very humble. You know, in this process, I'm sure you know, you've been discussing with Pedro, Hugo, the rest of our team for months, and normally you have all these doctors, the lawyers, the tax, the due diligence, the HR, and you're supposed to have no surprise on the celebration days. But it happens that I'm very much impressed, I have to say, of the density of decision makers that we're gathering here today. Of course, it's the building of Microsoft. Of course, it's this fantastic topic around Gen AI. But probably most importantly, it's what you've been building with Hugo and the rest of your team for the last year. So I'm very honored and humbled to be here. I'm popping in this meeting with one slide, just to share with you that we hope and we want to make this a great success for all of our customers and your customers, combining our skills. This is an ID card of who we are, but roughly, if I get rid of a few digits, we're roughly 10,000 consultants. We reached our first €1 billion, so that might seem big to you, but actually it's a fantastic gameplay because on our left-hand side we have very talented specialist companies like yours, and on the right-hand side they speak French very loud or Indian very loud, and I think together we have a fantastic gameplay to combine the expertise, the agility that you built, but also maybe to put it to scale and to empower all the ideas we can have together. So we're very grounded in tech historically with keywords you see here: cloud, saber, data, AI, of course, with a kind of a mission that is really to bring the technology to the customer, should it be public or private sector. I mean, that sounds like something on a wall, but we all understand how important tech can be and how bad tech can be. And of course, we're trying to bring the tech to empower the customers every day. So this is this part. Of course, we do this, and we're very convinced that to bring this tech to EMEA in Europe, because we're focusing in Europe, we really need to count on the big hyperscalers of the US, the 3 of them. I'm allowed to speak only one in this building. But we have the ambition to become the leader in Europe within the next 18 months with the 3 of the hyperscalers. And with Microsoft, just to give you an example, we have today 18 specializations, which puts us, I think, in the 3rd leading position in the world. And we were not far from Seattle in Redmond with Satya a month ago to discuss how we can bring cloud sovereignty to Europe through the cloud, Microsoft Cloud Sovereignty. So that's another part. Last, maybe Portugal. It might seem surprising, but we are very convinced that this is where we need to grow, and for the local business, not to bring talents outside, but really for the local grounded business. We started this story with Bold 8 years ago. Then we had the chance to onboard a company called Integrity, that is, for some of you know, pen testing, sustainability, and now Singularity. Bold, Integrity, Singularity. We're not doing it on purpose, but I think it gives you the cocktail of what we want to build together. So I'll wrap it up here, but I think the combination of the tech here that we're bringing, the size, the European mindset, and of course all the skills of Gen AI, I think can really, hopefully, combine this to empower you decision makers to take the right decisions, to empower you with Gen AI, and to put this at scale when needed. So thank you very much, and this is not my part, this is yours, so thank you again.
Thank you, Sebastian. So big news for the market and for our customers. So, and let's talk about the agenda. We did it on birth, so we had this announcement. Now what's the agenda? So welcome to already did. So yeah, the idea for today is Danielle, I'm going to present how to core business Generative AI, okay, in a few seconds. Then we're going to have a session that we're going to have 4 customers presenting real use cases that we implement with them. It will be CTT, VCP, and Ministry of Justice. Then we're going to have a short coffee break. And then we'll start it again with Manuel Diaz from Microsoft. My friend Manuel, this is going to show the vision for Microsoft in Generative AI. And then we're going to have at the end roundtable with all these customers to talk about what is the present and the future of generative AI in their sector, in their industry. This is going to be very, very helpful for everyone. And at the end, we're going to launch officially our book. We're going to give away a copy for everyone. Okay? So, Daniel, can we start?
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right. Good morning. Is my microphone working? Audio. Yes. No. Yes. Is it working now?
No.
No. Yes. Now. Good. Okay. Great. Thank you very much, Pedro. And it's been a pleasure. We go way back to my time at Microsoft. And we continue to work together on thought leadership in thinking about how the future is going to unfold. And we watch these new technologies evolve. And today I'm going to give you a little sense of that. We've worn out the forward button. There we go. So I've been doing this for a while. That is me in about 1985 or so, on a Burroughs B1855 mini computer with 256 megabyte hard drives. The machine itself had a half a megabyte, running a $15 million a year company. I spent about $256,000 to upgrade the machine to a megabyte. So things have changed a little bit, right? Because I can now run that company on my watch. But it's a long history of thinking about where technology takes us. I decided that technology was going to be my life, and writing about technology was very important to me. There we go. Delayed clicking going out. There we go. Oh, there. Okay. So I've been writing about AI for quite some time. So we have the AI and its impact in the 90s on manufacturing. So this is a different AI, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But this is a lot of background, including work I did with the Microelectronics Computer Corporation in M6C in Austin, Texas. If many of you have no idea what the Japanese 5th generation project was, at one point the world was afraid that Japan was going to become the leader in AI. And the American response was to create the Microelectronics Computer Corporation in Austin, Texas, to combat the threat of Japanese AI. None of you remember that because it didn't happen. But a lot of things did happen. There were lots of packaging technologies for chips and various software technologies. Distributed computing came out of that effort. And this big project called Psych. One of my favorite kind of cool articles, I was in a magazine called Mondo 2000, and it was kind of a cyberpunk magazine, and I was writing about artificial intelligence and how this inference, this 21 inference engine with millions and millions of predicate assertions about logic was going to someday be able to have conversations with us. That didn't happen. So technology continues to change. We have inspirations and aspirations, and I've captured some of those in books over the years, and you're going to get a new one today. So I wrote, Understanding Artificial Intelligence back in 1987, I think, and there is a chapter on neural networks in there, and actually there's a page on neural networks in there, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Here, where we think about the foundations of neural networks going all the way back to 1958. So this technology is not new. It is maturing, but it's taken decades for that to happen. Right? So I always find it fascinating. I've been on a few panels with people, and it's like AI just showed up. Right? AI is here now, and it's taking over the world. And it's out of the box, and it's never going back in the box. And we have these very excited people, and I kind of look at it and go, okay. It's a really powerful tool. It has been a powerful tool, and it continues to add great value and continues, as I said, to mature. So we have kind of the history of going through this is just the history of neural networks, and it's very abbreviated. And then we did expert systems back in the 1990s. That was where I did a lot of writing about. I'll share a personal experience with that in a moment. But at that same time, there was a paper put out by Marvin Minsky and others about perceptrons. Perceptrons was another name for neural networks, and they basically said they don't scale and they're not going to work very well. And when I was playing with neural networks back then, I was hand-keying data into Lotus 123 to feed it into a neural network engine. And it was, did some pattern recognition, but it was very difficult to do, and we'll talk about that transition in a moment as well. So these technologies continue to evolve. We had this AI winter where expert systems were supposed to be the end-all and be-all, and we found out that logic was not the only way that we thought. And the work on neural networks continued. And so we ended up where we are today with very rich, multi-layered models of language that we are all experiencing, and the change has been profound in that area. One of the things that many of you have probably done is sat down with ChatGPT or with Bing or with Bard. Sorry. I may say other names here. But Eliza is the oldest one. Eliza was a therapist program that you could sit down and tell it your deepest thoughts, and people did that. They sat down with this thing and they said, I'm not sure, if my future is going to be because, I had a bad relationship with your mother, and it would say, tell me more about your relationship with your mother, and then you would tell it more. This is the actual code. This is Lisp, for any of you who may recognize that. That's the actual code that was handcrafted with canned responses, right? So it's not like today, because we don't even know where generative AI is coming up with some of the responses. It's very hard to track because it's a bit more opaque. This is very transparent, right? You could go in and you say, well, that's not really alive. Well, it feels like, well, here's the code, right? And so we still have a very human connection to things that prompt us and engage us in conversation. And no more so than Eliza, for any of you who are worried about generative AI, it's not going to wake up and take over the world tomorrow. It has no intent, it has no emotions, it has no memory, at least in the current configuration. So do not worry about generative AI as a threat in and of itself, and think about it as a tool. And we'll be talking about that for the rest of the day. And speaking of tools, I was very involved creating the surface mount assembly reasoning tool at Western Digital. SMART. Took almost as long to come up with the name as it did to come up with the project, right? And deliver the results. I came in and asked the manufacturing engineers what was the thing that bothered them the most. And they said, we were hired to think about the future of manufacturing in this company, and we spend most of our time writing programs for last year's technology. And I said, would you work with me if I could take that away from you? And they said yes. And so I worked with knowledge engineers and coding in expert objects, and we created SMART, which programmed the pick and place machines. The very first version of it was all logic, and at the end of the day, we had a very, very odd first run where the machine was thrashing around and the heads were moving, and we went, we need to rethink something. And we realized at the end of the day it was a traveling salesman problem, that there was a lot of complex interactions taking place, and we needed to solve for that. So we crafted a genetic algorithm to manage that part, and the rest was history. The program ran for 5 or 6 years at Western Digital well after I left the company, and programmed their lines. And for every single, when you think about return on investment, for every single new product, every printed circuit board, it was a week less to get to market. So they were able to get products to the market very quickly. And one of the last things that I did there was tweak our system a little bit, because a company had come in and said, we'd like you to make our laptops for us. That company was IBM. And we made the very first ThinkPads, the prototypes for IBM, with our pick-and-place system and smart programming, the placement of those components. So what's different now? We had the AI winter, we had predicate logic, we had expert systems, and we had fuzzy logic, we had genetic algorithms. What's different now? We didn't have a lot of data, right? They're massive amounts. When you think about both the free information that's available on the internet, and it may have scoured a few places that weren't supposed to be free, but that's the subject for another conference. But it had massive amounts of information that are training these large language models. And that is very different than me sitting with a little neural network thing, running on MS-DOS and typing some stuff into Lotus 123 to see what the neural network would do. Right? We now have massive amounts of data that really create a corpus of what human knowledge looks like. Right? Human experience, human knowledge. And we have more sophisticated neural networks. That's a 10-week course that we'll be starting at some point. We'll be happy to have you learn what neural networks are. We're not going to go into that today, but there's a lot of data out there you can learn about that. And then we have a general acceptance of AI as an interactive model, right? So at one point, Cortana and then Siri and Alexa gave us an entry point for having conversations with devices and technology. And so we were familiar with that. And then finally, we have kind of back-end stuff, Hadoop and other things that are making the management of the data easier, and billions of dollars in commercial investment from connected cars companies and technology companies and others, versus when I go back to look at what happened with the Microelectronics Computer Corporation, there was private government partnerships. The Defense Advanced Research Project Agency in the States helped fund some of that. And so there was a lot of work that was not just private. All of this is private. And that's a very big shift as well. And the market is very robust. I just picked, you can get dozens of charts about what's happening in the AI market right now. I just thought the acquisitions one was interesting because we're already starting to see consolidation. And so those companies that you're seeing, little companies that say, we've got this great thing, and they end up with some kind of market valuation, and are we going to go public, and et cetera. And then one of the large companies comes and swoops them in and says, we're going to make you part of us. Because they're recognizing where they have deficiencies in video or audio or text or whatever their area of expertise is that they're trying to acquire. And in all of this, it's still a very human endeavor. And one of the things that we need to do as you adopt technology is to think about our role in helping shape what policy looks like. Right? So I very highly recommend, if you're involved in this and you're worried about what legislators or regulators are doing, that you get involved in that conversation. There's, of course, lobbying that you can participate in if you're in a large company, sharing your concerns and sharing your experiences. Because my experience, I've spent quite a bit of time. I've done some stuff in the EU. I've done lots of work in Washington, D.C. And most legislators and regulators don't have any idea what's happening. They're reading stuff, they're having briefings. They're not hearing the first person on the ground, this is what my company is doing and what we're achieving. They're hearing threats and hearsay and all kinds of other things. Being able to share with them and offer up your expertise, I think, is very valuable to helping shape that discussion. It's also going to be, I think, the biggest change management challenge that we've ever had. So change management from an IT perspective is usually, we're putting in a new system, we're going to have this little silo of people that we have to go figure out how we're going to both deploy and then adopt new technology. There may be some process change, some culture change, I'll put in quotes, right? You have to think about your work a little differently. You now have the potential that you can think about everything differently, right? You're going to be automating places that you've never imagined you could automate. You're going to be working with a technology that is not deterministic. meaning that it might not always come up with the answer that you're expecting, and it also might come up with different answers if you ask it at different times in a different way. And so that's a very different way of acting, and it requires that it's a human technology collaboration. It's not just, I have a transaction system, I put some numbers into it, if I put the right form with the right numbers, I get these outputs and I can run these reports. Right? This is very much a collaborative technology, and I think we're just starting to see what that impact is going to be. But what it's going to imply is that the people side of your organization, you're going to have to think about making sure that people understand what the technology is, its limitations, and its opportunities, where it can be in the process, because it's going to insert itself in the process in places that technology never did before. And people are already experimenting with that without you doing anything, right? So there are customer service agents at your organization probably that are going, well, what if I just see if it'll type up something cool for me, right? And they're going out to ChatGPT and they are asking it to write a customer note for them or to draft an email or something. And so they're already probably using it, even if it's not officially implemented. And we're seeing it now infiltrate, of course, lots of business systems. If it's not already in something that you use, it's going to be. Right? We saw the launch of Copilots yesterday for Microsoft. It is being embedded into accounting systems, CRM systems, banking systems, and others. And it's going to take policy and practice. You're going to have to think about what you do and how you do that. When I put culture in quotes, a few years ago I wrote a book called Management by Design, and I said we should not talk about company culture, we need to talk about policy, practice, space, and technology. Those are the levers of culture. And if we just talk about culture, we never do anything because we don't actually get down to what changes it. And so I try to encourage organizations to think about policy and practice, space, and technology, ways of doing that. And then finally, the technology itself. For the IT people, it's a different way of integrating. It's not just a cloud-based, it is, yes, it has APIs, but at the end of the day, that interaction, that conversation that you have with people is not what technology is traditionally done. And that's what we do. Discover the most relevant content in the moments when it's needed. This is to that point about automation. BPA was one of the technologies for the last 5 or 6 years. It has been, let's just automate stuff and let's use these structured frameworks. Very similar to some of the things that we did with expert systems in the past. We put in logic and we make things more efficient. And this is now looking at extracting value from unstructured data, classification, transcription, and other things that business process automation didn't know how to do. And so you're now going to have to think about we just automated these processes. There were pieces of those that we either stopped at and we said we can't automate past this point because it becomes a very human activity, or there are places where you could integrate and enhance the automation that you already have with new nuances to the process that you've put into place. And so I think it's going to give you opportunities to reconsider the BPA that you've already done. And so in this cycle of technology that I've watched over the years, you're now watching something that was pretty new and front cover reporting around BPA, and now generative AI is probably going to force you to reconsider those automations and rethink them. Find the right partner. So it's one of the things I love about working with Singularity and now with Devoteam is you're going to find, if you decide that you want to do generative AI, the talent market's pretty tough right now in terms of finding people who are experts at model building, at integration, at prompt engineering, asking the right questions. And so looking for those skills, finding a partner that can help you do that. And then, I've got those other names up there, whose technology you're going to use, and you're going to integrate multiple technologies. And then you're going to find it, as I said, in commercial software. So even things that you think about as mundane as a product like Miro, which is a whiteboarding, brainstorming product that I use pretty extensively. I teach at the University of Washington, and my students this week did not have the opportunity to learn with me. I'm still teaching there, right as we speak. This is Thursday, so last night I taught there asynchronously, and I used Miro, and they had integrated generative AI into it, so you can put up an idea on a mind map and then say, tell me other things about it. So how do I start a good software project? And if you just click on it and say generative AI, it will go out to ChatGPT and it will create a mind map for you of process ideas that you could use to create a good software deployment program. And that's just one example. It's going to be built into lots of things. And so a lot of your technology, it's one of the areas that I think you have to watch is, are you getting generative AI from different places, and is it giving you different answers depending on how it's implemented? And so very similar to my admonition often about having too many collaboration technologies in your organization, thinking about already how do you rationalize where generative AI is giving you the most benefit, and are you seeing conflict and overlap as it just kind of comes into your commercial applications. And then finally, managing churn. I showed you the list of the acquisitions that are happening. I've been through, .com bubble and various other areas, and at some point, the technology companies that you are hearing about will either disappear, they will be successful, or they will be acquired. And so you're going to have to manage, especially, as Pedro said, we're less than a year into this. And we're looking at the number of companies in the hundreds now are doing generative AI one way or another. Some of them doing their own models, some doing that integration and applications. And those companies are going to change pretty rapidly over the next couple of years. And so making sure that you manage that change and churn in the market. This is a bit of an eye chart, but I'll start off with the part that's a little bit more easily read. So I did a lot of research on AI and ethics. I read probably 50 different policies from Microsoft and Google and SAP and the European Union and the US military and various other places, and I consolidated those into a list of the attributes that need to be included in a good policy for responsible or ethical AI. And I also then categorize them. So the green ones are the ones, those are the only ones that the technology companies can worry about. Right? So security of the data systems, reliability, and explainability. Those are technical challenges, right? And we talked about, having the companies be the ethical barrier, and they are not going to be. We are going to be, right? This is a human choice that we're making. And that's where the blue parts come in. The blue parts of just use, accountability, human control, accuracy. Those are choices that we make about how we use the technology. The technology, generative AI, or any other technology does not have built-in morals. It doesn't have any built-in ethics. You can certainly have a conversation with ChatGPT about ethics, but it will not remember that it had that conversation with you after you turn your computer off. Right? So it doesn't care. It has a corpus of knowledge from humanity that includes ethical things, and you can have that conversation, but it is not going to make any choices based on that. We're going to make choices. And some of those choices that are in the policies are, we're not going to do propaganda, we're not going to use it for the military, we're not going to use it for criminal activity, we're not going to harm human health, and we're not going to negatively impact economies. Those are some of the statements. Again, technology is not going to make any of those choices. We are. And we're not going to necessarily do that universally. So different countries and different ideologies may make different choices about, do they believe that those are actually areas of stoppage that are red and we should not go there. Some places may do that. But that is not going to be the technology's issue. It's going to be ours. And so we need to think about how we deal with that situation as well. And in the meantime, all those other things about responsibility and trustworthiness and other things, those are things that we have to be able to manage. And at the end of the day, it's all about management of the data. As I said, there's huge amounts of data. Most of the data that we dealt with before is structured. That's what most IT people do. We, of course, had lots of unstructured data. We put it into search engines, we put it into repositories, where we did document management of certain pieces of it. But now we have the ability to take that data, deconstruct it, and make it into something that is not just searchable, but not something that we can have a conversation with. And these are the kind of basic use cases. You'll hear my colleague Patricia, and you'll hear from customers soon about what they're actually doing. But these are the basic use cases for generative AI. All of them are based on general amounts of data. Sorry. Followed by, if you want to apply it inside your organization, your own data. And so there's a lot of effort that you need to think about in terms of transforming your data into a way that it can be read and understood. And there's a lot of technical nuances, as I said, thinking about what the generative AI engines actually do. That's a great conversation for after lunch of looking at your data and thinking about how it would be better represented in order to go into this. You're not going to just be able to point something at your engine, at an engine, and have it do exactly what you want it to do. You're going to have to probably craft some of that data. And now I'm going to do a little bit of a shift in terms of tone. What I teach at the University of Washington is scenario planning, how to think about the future. Scenario planning is based on uncertainty, social, technological, economic, environmental, and political uncertainties. And we craft futures out of that allow us to understand the possibilities. So when I'm on a panel with somebody who is, exuberant about artificial intelligence, they have a vision of where it's going to go, and that's fine. But the primary presentation that I give in this topic is called How You Think About the Future is Dangerous. Because we have a lot of preconceived notions, and we have beliefs that we say, here's how we're going to go forward, and we often don't challenge those. Scenario planning challenges those assumptions. And so we build multiple futures to help us think about strategy, to avoid surprises, to look at new opportunities, drive innovation, etc. I'm going to introduce you to a couple of those. So I just spent the last 6 months creating new future of work scenarios, and they are called For God and Country, The Great Rebuilding, Flat World 2.0, and Reorientation. And they are built around two uncertainties. One is the affinity for work. Are you connected to your work and loyal? And how are you loyal? Or is your relationship with your employer strained in some way? And is the world in a rebuilding mode, or is it fractured? And so we end up with these worlds of reorientation where we make these, surprising assertions, right? The new political movements challenge existing structures. Russia emerges as a democracy following its second revolution. China struggles with the disenfranchised Generation Z. And so the way that we think about the future of work is not constrained by what technology can do, but thinking about the geopolitical situations, social movements, and others. And then what we did was looked at ethical frameworks, pace of AI diffusion, work for humans, trust for information, equitable access to emerging technology, and regulatory restrictions. And those were then given values appropriate for that future. So when we think about the future of AI, it's not linear. We don't know. There's no data from the future. There's nobody telling us in a prescient way that something's going to happen. Right now, it's a set of uncertainties, and there's a number of ways things could play out. And one of those, I'll just point out, with regulatory, right? So I did some work recently with the University System of Georgia, and one of their scenarios, and I think it plays into these sets as well, looked at the regulation of AI, and the European Union in that story said, you have to explain all of the data that you use to make a recommendation to a person, and you have to give them all the logic that you use to make that recommendation if they ask. And in that scenario, the technology company said, we're not going to recommend anything anymore because that's too hard. Our technology is not explainable, and so we can't reveal that information, and we don't want you to know how much data we have on you. So we're going to stop explaining things and recommending things to you. Which the librarians were very excited about, because in that future we ended up with human recommenders, and resurgence of people actually understanding what other people wanted, and the recommendations that you would get from large shopping sites started becoming recommendations from people that they were building relationships with. And so it was a very different view of the future. Not that AI wasn't there, it was just not making consumer recommendations. Forgotten country, a very different future where nationalistic or religion becomes the primary dominant feature of the world, and AI is used to reinforce that. So the engines, when we think about bias in this future, the engines are purposefully biased. They have an ideology that they are trying to perpetuate, and they are written in a way that reinforces that doctrine. So we can talk about ethics and everything else as much as we want. It is a cultural constraint. It is a cultural construct. And when the culture changes, the view of what that ethics looks like can also change. Flat World 2.0. Pedro often says that he met me talking about the world is a lumpy mess instead of flat world. When Friedman wrote his book, The World Was Flat. This is a world trying to get back to the interconnections, because right now we have strained international relationships in many areas, and this is trying to get us back to, in a very practical way, the kind of the level down below governments of businesses trying to figure out how to reintegrate, how to ship goods and services, and have people move between countries in a more fluid way. And so this is a future where AI is very practical. It's about, how do I get something done? How does it help me make these transactions? How do I learn something about another culture that I may visit? So very, very practically oriented, and that's the AI pieces of that. And then finally, I was having a very long conversation with Pedro last night about some of the strife in the world, and the bifurcation of the liberals and the conservatives. And this is a world where they kind of said, we've had enough of that. We need to find a way to reconciliate and to find common paths forward, even if we don't agree on everything. And so this is a world that's trying to heal and find tolerance and acceptance and find ways to work together. In scenario planning, one of the most famous examples is the Mach Floor scenarios in South Africa, where they built a set of scenarios with the political powers in South Africa during apartheid. In 3 of the 4 scenarios, one large group or many large groups ended up going to war and killing a lot of people. In one of the scenarios, nobody went to war and nobody died. And they looked at each other and said, if we can imagine this, why don't we try that one? And that was one of their pathways out of apartheid. And so I'm hoping that when we have these aspirational scenarios emerge from this work, that we can inspire people to think about there is a pathway towards something different. And AI is part of that in terms of helping coach people and encourage people and help solve some of the big problems around the environment and other things. And I'll take a breath, step back into the practical reality of the moment. One of the things you'll see in the book, by the way, the scenarios are also in the book in summary. We also decided that as we were looking at this, one of the other big culture changes or change management issues was the agile methodologies or waterfall methodologies were not sufficient for generative AI. And so we imagined that we needed to think through methodologies a little differently. There's several pages dedicated to this in the book. So this is just a very high-level view of getting your organization prepared, training, learning, understanding what you need, what skills you need, what generative AI is, how you make decisions about where it goes and what you use it for, and then integrating that with strategy. I have done a lot of consulting with IT organizations, and one of the things I always encourage them to do is to tie their business strategy to their IT strategy. As commonplace as that may sound in common sense, it doesn't always happen. And so it's something I think is very critical here because of the transformative nature of this technology. We need to think about how we build that into what are the business objectives We had a conversation with a client yesterday, talking, and that was one of the things raised. Rather than looking at the generative AI use cases, let's look at the business things that you're having problems with and see if generative AI can play a role in those, rather than taking kind of the list of generative AI use cases that are on every blog in the world right now, and saying, can we do one of those? Let's think about what the business needs, and then figure out if generative AI can help with that. And then defining options, looking at, there's a piece of the methodology that's in the book that looks at the accuracy and fluidity of conversation and other aspects of generative AI, as well as is it going to be used in integration or automation and other ways in the organization, knowledge bases, and looking at that as is generative AI ready for the business case that you're making, right? And so looking at what you can do, where your skill set is, and then making those options. And then we have the factory, which is the let's turn up the heat and go make some of these things and put them out there and experiment and learn together and understand how the impact actually happens. So I think you're going to find in a lot of these cases, you're going to come up with KPIs and hopeful aspirations for what the returns are going to be, and you're going to have to learn as you go through the process what it actually does. And so that's why we put a box around that, build the thing, and then learn about it. And then learning continues to be, and I always love having conversations with agile developers, any agile development companies, people that do that. When I bring up the idea of a retrospective, and they go, yeah, we love agile, but we really don't do retrospectives. One of the key things is the continuous learning, right? So we build that into the model. Continuous learning, feedback, and roles and responsibility reviews, because we're making assumptions about what people need to do, both on the technology side and the business side, and we may find out that when we implement, those are not correct, and we need to make adjustments. Capturing lessons learned and sharing those so that you can become scalable. Looking at your application of your framework that your organization has created, and deciding if your application is ethical, and then looking at KPIs. And I'll leave you with a final thought about humanity. So this is very recent research that I read about. It's inconclusive, but I think it's fascinating anyway. So the Neanderthals, these are Neanderthal tools, and you'll notice that there are 3 different axes and they don't all look the same. Neanderthals, they believe, now had a divergent thinking process. And so wherever you find pockets of Neanderthal technology, what you find is that it's different across time and geographies. And then as soon as you see Homo sapiens come in, it starts becoming very regular, right? So we invented productivity, and much to the dismay of the Neanderthals. But with that, we also created a kind of cultural norm of let's make everything efficient, let's make everything the same. It's one of the problems you probably have when you talk about how do I differentiate my company from other companies, because as soon as you say, I'm this kind of business, you start benchmarking yourself against everybody else and trying to be as good or better than them in the areas that you've all defined together are what those things are. The Neanderthals didn't worry about that. They said, let's just create things and be creative. And so I encourage you, as we're thinking about the generative AI, that research also shows that many of us in this room might also have some Neanderthal DNA in us, and that we tap into that and think about the collaborative aspects of generative AI, how we think about divergence and bringing in the human aspect to it, and thinking about how it can make us different and better, and not necessarily just thinking about it in terms of productivity and efficiency. There's lots of other things. As I said at the beginning, generative AI has an enormous amount of human knowledge represented, and so let's tap into that and see what we can learn from it, as well as just using it as a tool. So I'll leave you with that thought, and I'm going to say thank you.
So we all promised that we could Russia is a democratic country. But we do promise that we will bring what Daniel has said into what we can do every day. And every day could be generative AI. Oops. And we are Singularity, part of Devoteam, as we heard. And the advisory side is exactly that, is bringing our scenarios, bringing our Neanderthal, bringing our Homo sapiens into what we can do in companies. So that's what we do, and we thrive doing that, and that's why we call it advisory. So we have this part of our services that we help you to bring things home, to bring things from low-hanging fruit to make the Neanderthal side of breaking the norm, but we make it happen. And we make it happen with the factory. We make the factory that we will have our customers just now telling you how we can do that and how we can bring it home as well. But, as we know, we started this journey this year, right? We started last year in December. I mean, what was ChatGPT? You know, we didn't know a year ago, right? So we have an academy because we think that if we bring knowledge to a certain level across organizations and personal life, then we can all talk about the same language, the Homo sapiens side, right? So it's a community. But because of that as well, we need sourcing. We need sourcing of good resources. We need sourcing of good people that want to learn and want to make it happen. So that's it. This is our offering. We're happy with it, and we are happy that we have our customers saying that. But coming back to, I just love, I'm sorry, Daniel, I love the part of the Homo sapiens and the Neanderthal. That makes us think of different use cases that we can make, like the disruptive ones and the norm ones. So we decided to, because I think genetically we are mostly Homo sapiens, we decided to put this in boxes, right? Boxes of what sort of use cases we can have. So we have a common use case. Everyone can have it. Everyone can apply it. It'd be, a utilities company, it could be a bank. It's across, it's the same, okay? Adapted, but it's the same. All business will adopt it. Organization-specific use cases, are the ones that are specific to your organization. Those quirky things that you do and you still don't know why you do it, but generative is there for you as well. And industry, Simon is there, he knows what I'm talking about, is you have the pharma companies, let's find a molecule. Probably God will not do that, but generative is there. The generative AI is there for you as well. So this sort of array of services that we can make and how we apply this to organizations, that's what we love, right? We have our customers here today, which we share with you their experiences, and I really thank them to be here with us. And it has been a journey so far. It's 10 months in, and we're really, really happy to do that. So now I have to do something that was not really planned, but we have Nunu from Millennium here with us. Are you there, Nunu?
Yes, I am.
Good.
Good morning.
Good morning, welcome. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation to be here. Actually, sorry for not being there physically, but technology allows us to find these agile solutions. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of what we are doing, although I'm not actually done there. Well, let me also give some congratulations both to Devoteam and Singularity for your move. I hope that the sum of the parts multiply and have let's say an exponential effect on your business. Well, on our side, I think that what is more relevant to put here is our strategy behind that generative AI, and then Miguel will make a short demo of something that we have been working on. So basically on generative AI, we have been working on this for some time now, and we are working on two dimensions. One is targeted at implementing specific use cases and to capture the short-term benefits and gain also expertise in this context in using this token. And on the other hand, creating a platform that is targeted at democratizing the implementation of this kind of agents throughout the company in a governed, secured, performance and actually effective way when it comes to the financial part of it. And so I think that you are looking at one slide. And so what have we put together? We are testing and deploying some basic capabilities that we believe are key to use large language models at scale. So we are creating an abstraction layer that allows us to use several models, and so you can select different models and the parameters to do it. Also, the prompt engineering part and how you can fine-tune it and the different parts and how you can actually improve the prompts, mainly using generative AI also. The knowledge base, which is the key, and we think that for corporate and targeted agents, we need to give them a very strong knowledge base, and that it has several levels of agility, both in the configurations, if they go deeper or they are more, they look at documents with a laser focus, or they look at the broad set of documents, and obviously the answers could be a little bit more, risky. Also regression testing, because we think that if you are going to put this into the organization, the business users, to create and deploy automatically these agents, you need to have some certain levels of security. You need to understand that you are not breaking a model that is serving a lot of different areas and a lot of different use cases. So this is one end in which we are also working on. And then in the multi-execution patterns, because you can use it like you do like in ChatGPT, or you can use it in a gold mode, for instance, to let's say migrate code, for instance, which is one of the use cases that we are doing, and we have like hundreds of files that you need to migrate. So there is different types of interaction with the model that they are, on a chat way, with memory, without memory, in bulk execution, as a service, in an event-driven way. So we are putting these multi-execution patterns that obviously talk with, let's say, the core of the model. And so we are testing and applying all of these capabilities to then build larger and more intelligent models that we aim to build. And so what we have been doing on this regard, we have set the ambition and the target state definition that I was mentioning to you around these capabilities. We have done obviously the solution design and the target architecture, and we are implementing it as of now. I think we have a first version that it's not very, it's not production ready, but I hope to have that in 1 or 2 months, the full stack. And we have set up a set of musical capabilities that I have talked with you, and we are doing some basic use case implementation also, as I discussed earlier. And those use cases are around, I think, that the more usual use of generative AI, which is the call transcript. So you summarize the calls that you receive on the call center, you do the speech to text, and then you do the summarization and the classification, the sentiment analysis, this kind of use case. Then we had also one that is going to be shown here that has to do with semantic search. So it's one of these key capabilities that is how to vectorize the documents, put it on a database that you can access, and then use the large language model to do some semantic search. We are also migrating some code from COBOL to actually, in this case, to .NET, but it could be any other language, and also to generate some documentation on that, because COBOL, as you know, it is a big thing around banks and around let's say the workforce that is not abundant in COBOL these days. And we are also working on an entity recognition, so it is like document extraction for addresses, on the use case, the concrete use case that you are implementing has more to do with addresses on documents, but once again, it is a core capability that we want to scale, and then to any business user to use it and componentize the different agents and deploy them in a streamlined and industrialized way. So I think that I have spoken a little bit of what we have been doing, and I think that Miguel can show you a little bit. I think you will not be greatly amazed because it is a semantic search with our documentation. I think that the big thing here has to do with putting all the security concerns on top of a highly regulated industry as it is banking, and making, let's say, the use of these models and the information available in a secure, governed way that is approved and that is compliant with the regulation. That has been a great, let's say, it is one of the key things for us. And obviously, we have this use case that is simulating an agent that we will put into the contact center, and so that you can use the knowledge base of the bank and have responses that are easier than finding throughout the documents. And I would pass over to Miguel for him to give that demo.
Thank you. Miguel is now going to show. I'm really sad that COBOL has been replaced by Web. I learned when I was 9.
It's not. It's not because actually generative AI is very good at COBOL, so maybe you can write in any other language and it will be.
It's probably a trauma I have that my dad put on me, so I don't. So Miguel.
Hi everyone, I hope you're all having a good morning so far. So I will now present the second use case that we just talked about. We have here on the screen the current version of the solution that users have access to and can interact to extract knowledge from all the internal documentation that the manager has, combining with the amazing capabilities of Azure OpenAI. So I'll firstly talk a little bit very briefly about each component that you can see here on the screen. Hopefully you'll see by the end of the presentation that everything is quite simple to use and very intuitive. And in the end we'll get to the actual fun part of actually testing some questions and answers in a live environment. So firstly, we have here this big box called instructions. And what is this exactly? So perhaps you have already experienced this. You are using, for example, ChatGPT. You ask quite a simple question that you think is pretty intuitive, but you get an answer that is maybe too vague, too ambiguous, perhaps talks about some subjects that you weren't really envisioning or looking for, or sometimes it seems like the model didn't really understand what you're asking. Most often than not, the problem here is a lack of context or a little bit of more information that the model needs to provide you with the best answer. And here in the instructions, in this box, is exactly that place to give more context, more information that greatly increases the accuracy of the answer. And sometimes that additional context can be something as simple as who you are and why are you actually asking a question, or what are you looking forward from the experience that you're having. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'll be playing the part of an employee working in a real estate credit department, and so that is exactly what I told the model in the instructions. And then I also told it, okay, so I'm having an interaction with the client, and I need help in providing a better answer and some more understanding about the problem at hand. Then on the right-hand side, we can see first a box called collection. And what is this collection? So in this solution, we are combining the capabilities of Azure OpenAI with internal documentation, but we are not actually using all of the internal documentation all of the time. Meaning that it is separated, let's say, into different groups. We have, for example, all the legal information in a group, in a collection called legal, all of the product information in a collection called products. And this allows us to do a couple of very interesting things. First of all, you can see that I'm logged in what's called a home user. This is a general user for the purpose of this demo. But actually, each different user will have access to different collections, different parts of information, as actually some users inside, some employees inside the company have access to some documents, and others to different documents, and this can be applied here. Having the documentation divided into different groups also allows us to do another interesting thing, which is to have more accurate answers or a more accurate experience, and also get answers in a faster manner. Although, let's say, we cannot, in most cases, know immediately in which document has the answer that we want. But in most cases, I think it's safe to assume that we can have an educated guess into saying which documents do not contain the answer that we get. By selecting the appropriate group of documents that the model will search through to find the answer, we can give it more accurate, let's say, information, and so then the model will provide us with a more accurate answer. Following this logic, we can also have a faster answer, as the model will search through less documents. Below the collection, we have a section where we can actually choose the model that we actually want to perform the action with. And below we have a couple of variables, a couple of parameters, essentially some characteristics specific to the model that we can also change to adapt the behavior and the answer that we get. Very briefly, temperature essentially tells us how creative do you want the model to be. For this demonstration, we have it at 0, so we want a very strict and concise answer. We want the model to follow exactly the guidelines that we give it. For a use case, let's say, if I wanted some ideas for a new marketing campaign, perhaps I would put the temperature a little bit higher, closer to 1, the maximum value, and I wanted, okay, let's see if the model being more creative, or thinking a little bit outside of the box, can give me a couple of more interesting ideas. And then finally, the last variable, max length, simply says, says what is the size of the answer. And so I want very strict and concise answers, so I put that value at quite low. Now we're going to the actual questions. So once again, I'm playing the part of an employee in a real estate credit department. I'm interacting with a client, and I need some help in getting some answers. For the first question, we selected quite an interesting case. So let's say that the client comes to us, or a potential client, and he's saying, okay, I already have a real estate credit solution in another institution. I would like to transfer it here. What are my options? How can I do that? What is the best way to go? Firstly, I need to select a group of information to search from. For this problem, let's say I would like to search all the new campaigns, most recent campaigns that we have. So I will go here to collection and search and then select exactly that group of information. Then down here, I already have the answer, the question typed out. I simply click on generate response, and right now the model is comparing this question with all of those specific documents that are selected to find us the best possible answer. And here you go. In this answer, not only is a specific campaign selected to offer the client, but we can also see a little bit of more information. In the last line, we can see a file 5 mentioned. For the purpose of this demo, some of the names of some files and some sections were masked, but essentially the model, the solution is also providing with these sources. So it's saying, okay, I got this information from this file or that file, and in the end, the user having the complete file name has access to not only can know where this information came from, but it's also possible to have a few further functionalities. For example, the file name can be provided with a hyperlink where you can click it and a pop-up window shows up with a PDF or a field document that you can search to immediately and very, very quickly. For the next question, we selected a use case that hits quite close to me, I have to say. So we decided, okay, now we have a client that is 25 years old and is looking to see what are his options, their options for real estate credit. For this purpose, I would say, okay, I don't want to search just the new campaign documentations. I actually want to go through the complete database of products and services that I can offer. So I just simply, on the fly, without having to change anything, go here and change my collection to the one that I need. And then going to the question part. I just need to type the new question. And now, when I click generate response, this solution once again is comparing the question that was asked, or the task that was asked with all the documentation, but now, since we changed the collection, a completely different group of documents is being searched to find the answer. And we get, once again, some suggestions of possible offers, as well as the files and the location, the sources of where this information actually came from. And now for the final challenge of this solution, we decided to go with perhaps a recurring doubt in many people's minds today. So, okay, insurance rates are increasing, more specifically in this use case, real estate credit installments. I would like to know if there's any option that I have to make them a little bit more stable. And now, once again, to generate this answer, let's use the same documents that we were using before. Again, a complete collection of products and services that I can offer. And now a new question is compared. To get us this final answer for this demonstration. Now, here we saw a quick walkthrough of what this tool can provide for the day-to-day life of a real estate department employee. But the possibilities for this type of technology are literally endless. We can say, for example, if I have a project manager and I need to do a presentation for a project that has just finished, I can use this tool to help give me ideas of what story I can tell during the presentation. Assuming I am an analyst and I want to search through the complete database of values for a particular task, I can use this tool to help me do that. I need to do a new marketing campaign and I need innovative and new ideas. This can help us, and also with a task as simple as help me write an email highlighting everything that was done during a project in the past week.
We just had something, yes, but we just had something here. Actually, we are looking at the configuration environment that is a power user or configuration environment for the usual user at the contact center. The solution will be deployed with the streamlined UI, where he actually may not be able even to change the instructions that were above, or even the knowledge base or the configuration that we have set up on the model. So if you are a power user, you have all these capabilities, but if you are an end user, actually this can generate, the idea actually today is not still generating it, but the idea is that this will generate an agent. Today we have to do it manually, but generate an agent with a very streamlined and let's say targeted UI that is a lot simpler than this one. Yeah, this was it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Eva. I think it's a real example of what we can do with this technology. And again, Bruno, thank you so much for making the effort to be remote with us. And I know it has been difficult for you today.
Yes, but thank you very much for your time. It was done. Technology allows us to do this kind of things
True.
today in a very agile manner. From yesterday to today, we had changed all of the choreography, and I think it worked. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruno. And now we're going to talk about another example. George.
Thank you. My name is George Lepont. I'm the Vice President of ERGN. Thank you very much for inviting me. The use case is very simple. For those that don't know, ERGN deals with the registry, civil registry, business registry, land registry, and vehicle registry. Currently, on March, April, we published a new online service to register a business, and the problem there was to think what should be, how should we transform the online form, because this is not a new service. We had already this service in Portugal portal, but we revamped it and tried to introduce some innovations. But one thing we didn't do is to really create a digital by default service. And this is because the companies, when they are registering, they must provide a social contract. How the partners of the business decide how the capital is shared, what are the responsibilities of each partner, and so on. The economic activity of the business, and so on. And so, even though we have online services, we still are in the era of paper. It's a digital paper, but it's still paper. And so the challenge here was to look at the social contract and see if we can really digitize it, so that a new form will be created in the future following this use case, to see if the business partners can create the social contract of the company on an online form. And to do this, we must think of how we can modelize the data in that form, in that contract, how we can create a UX UI that is easier to create and to configure the business. And so the step one of this use case was to get those documents and see what the data was inside of the documents. And then we should create a model of that data and validate the data. And so I think there is a step, an intermediate step, until we have a form that can define the social contract. And that intermediate step is that the business partner or a lawyer can present this contract, and the form will be filled automatically with the data that is inside of the document. And so the step one was to look at the data, and step two was to ask this contract some questions. What are the name of the partners? What is the capital of the company? What is the social, the economic activity of the company, and so on, so that we can then fill the form in the near future to provide a better service to the customer and to create, hopefully, a company not in 10 minutes, as the member of the government said in the few weeks prior, but probably just by submitting a document, we are creating the company on the spot in a minute or even a few seconds. So I give the floor to George. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. So the challenge here was, as you know, in the records, there is a lot of information that is completely unstructured. And nothing is more unstructured than legal documents. Although they have a structure, but they can be quite diverse. So the starting process for some of today's challenges in RN is that the officers have to go through documentation that has whatever look, whatever structure, read it, understand what is there compared with the formula sources that they have in these systems. And this is a time-consuming and ever-prone process. So how can we, with the help of Generative AI, how can we improve and make the life easier for the people working and reduce the time to fulfill the complete process? As you can see, this is I'm going to show a little bit behind the scenes just for you to understand the logic. This is a real document with a lot of annotations. It's not a beautiful PDF that's just someone created from Word. So what do we need to do? First of all, we need to go through AI and the AI that is already available for quite some time to have a look at this document. And I'm doing it on real time. So what it's doing is looking at the documents, extracting the information from it, and as you might see, it tells me what it identified, where it identified, and as you saw it was on real time. So I'm enabling also users of this that are not something that runs in the background, something that can be done on real time, can be uploaded from a mobile app or whatever, and the results are gradually available. But the results, they are in a complex or easy format, depending on if you're half full or half empty. This is the result, and this was the challenge until Generative AI. Generative AI is an excellent tool to deal with this kind of information. So what do we need to do? We need to instruct our Generative AI with some orders, and I'm sorry, it's in Portuguese, but this is what it's called prompts. And basically are a set of orders that I'm giving the model for him to perform something for me. And this can be automated, can be massified. So what I have to feed it is that nice information that I have. For those of you who don't know, this is the sandbox for basically OpenAI. So I have my orders, I have my ingredients, and basically the magic will happen. And I've asked our friend Generative AI to do a few things for us. First of all is reconstructing the structure of the document. As you saw, we started from a completely raw information, apparently with no structure. The generative models, the large language models allow us to reconstruct the structure, and it is doing something even more interesting. I know that the letters are small, so I asked the model to anonymize the data. So he, because he's a model trained on language, he was able to identify that this is the name of the company, this is the name of the person, this is the address. And I told him, replace whenever you find some critical data, please replace with a token like empresa, VAT number and so on. And now I have a template, and this will future will help to create the templates for the documents that in the future will enable us to do an online setup, because I have all the variations, or I have a huge amount of past documents of those, and I can learn and do a anonymization. Another thing that is done is he has not forgotten the context. He has extracted the data and redacted it a little bit. But with this, I can now compare with my formal systems. So you have a contract from your customer. You want to know his address, who is the person that was called, or is there a fiador for a given contract that is hidden away in a document that stays on a storage account somewhere? Now we can act upon it because I can compare this with my formal systems. I can also do another kind of interesting thing, which is I can do validations on data. I can ask the model to say, because this is a company of a certain type, Unipswal, does it have at least one partner and just one partner? Does it have a social capital bigger than X? So I can ask the model also to do this validation. And this is basically the use case, which is something that requires a lot of human attention. Now I can massify it, I can automate it, and I can also have value added in terms of the operations I can do with this data. So that's the start of the journey. Thank you.
Let's try to do this again. So I'm called Carlos from CTT. I'll post the service. Well, he's saying that he's sharing, but not reading. Do you want to start with the demo? Yes.
So good morning all, and thank you for the invitation. Okay, so our use case is probably one of the most common use cases. Just having a chatbot answering to our question, to the questions of our customers in our site. Okay, so it's quite simple, and actually it was also a big challenge. Okay, I'm going to show you the chatbot working. Okay, but the challenges was we have already a chatbot. It's a click bot. Okay, just you have options and you have to click, and all the answers are written. Okay, so if I want to have a multi-language chatbot, I will have to written all the answers in different languages. Okay, if I want to give a new answer to a new question, okay, I will have to put a new button, or if I am already with a conversational bot, to train the bot to identify which question is, and then plan the answer. Okay, so this gives us actually some advantages. Okay, so with this new generative AI model, okay, the range of questions that can be answered is almost infinite. Okay, we just have to have the information in our knowledge base. Okay, this increases also reduces the time to market. Okay, so if CTT wants to launch a new product tomorrow, we just have to put the information in the knowledge base, and the chatbot is automatically ready to answer any question. Okay, so this is a huge advantage. Okay, and actually, the multilingual is also not a problem. Okay, I just put information in Portuguese, and it's automatically able to answer in any language. Okay, so it is a common use case, probably one that almost everyone remembers when think about generative AI, and actually it works, but with some risk. Okay, sometimes the chatbot will give you a wrong answer, and you have to manage the risk. Okay, so. Now I will have to put my glasses. Okay, so now this is not live, but it's the production environment, and I'm without any safety net. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the new chatbot. Okay, and I can do a lot of questions regarding all the information that is in our knowledge base. For instance, okay, so who is CDT's CEO, for instance? Okay. Actually, I can also do some mistakes in working in stable English. Okay, so another question. I don't know. Anyone wants to make a question? I can. What? So, what are CDTs for them?
Do you know which materials are those? Yes.
I will see that. Okay, so. But more interesting use case that you will probably use in the future. Okay, so. Where is my package? Okay, so in order for the chatbot to answer, I will have to give him the code for the object. Okay, so just go here and get the real code. Hope it's not of someone in this room. Okay, and I'm just putting the code. And right now it will show the track and track information regarding this object. So if Sandra Souza is here, sorry. So this is actually quite good. Okay, it's quite capable, but there is some risk. Okay, so we are not yet live. We are planning to put it very soon. We are just with some little problems in order to reduce the number of errors that we might have in answering the customer.
Go back. So thank you, Carlos.
You're welcome.
What is this? And now you're going to hear about EDP, a bit of what they are, their strategy at the moment, and the demo that we have also to show you. We are a little bit behind schedule, but I think this is quite interesting for you to see before you go for a nice coffee. So here, please.
Okay. I was saying that I should thank you for the invitation. Right? Okay, good morning. So yeah, coffee break next. So I'll try to breeze through this presentation. My name is Francisco Santos, and I work at DGU, so the corporate IT of EDP. And I'm the head of the newly created Gen AI Center of Competence. Something that perhaps 1 year ago I would say that was crazy to be the head of Gen AI. What was that? Okay, so I'll need to. Okay. Right hand side, left hand side. Okay, so. I'll start with a couple of slides and then I'll go to the use case itself. EDP, as perhaps you may know, has a really ambitious plan. It's in our business plan for the next decades, and it's basically to lead the energy transition. But in order to do that, we know that digital transformation will be key, will be the key enabler for that. And inside that digital transformation, we know that data and AI will be one of the major topics we have to have. And so inside these key priorities for EDP, there are of course data. I mean, it's all about data. Daniel said that, and I completely agree. Scale up AI capabilities, but there's a new topic. So we really want to lead the way in implementing Gen AI at EDP. We think that Gen AI will be key for this digital transformation, and so to help us in leading the energy transition. Okay, so for that, we have been working on generative AI for 1 year, almost 1 year now. And we have set some clear goals and our path in what we call the accelerating Gen AI at EDP. So I'll go through this really quick. I'll start with the first one, which is set the foundations in terms of architecture, what we call the reference architecture. So basically our operational guidelines, responsible AI, how should we govern Gen AI inside EDP, but also, looking, going back to Daniel's presentation, it's all about people. So we really wanted to, from the first day, to have all people on board, all targets, all employees of EDP to know what is Gen AI. We did many envisioning sessions, workshops, with top management, all EDP, data and AI community. So in the end, we know that we wanted to target these 3 profiles, okay? So end user, basically all people at EDP. So we all are end users. So we can know the risks, we can know everything about Gen AI, how we should use it. There's the mind for EDP that I'll show you next what it is, but it's basically, spoiler alert, it's our internal ChatGPT assistant, already in production. Next, we wanted to target our AI developers, basically our developers in-house. So our data and AI community, how they should work with Gen AI applications. What are the rules, what are the guidelines, what basically is our technical architecture and how should we use it. And so for that, since January this year, we have created a sandbox. It's basically Azure OpenAI that you saw George using. We have created one and said, listen, for every data and AI developer in-house, we want you to use it and to know how you can apply it for your use cases. So we do have a GenAI sandbox ready to be used by all AI developers. And finally, of course, our business developers. So we worked, and I'll show you next, we worked close with our business platforms in order to let them have their ideas, challenge their ideas, and have business case templates that they can fill in. So we do have an overview of a possible use case in GenAI. And so, starting with the end user and AI developer, we have created what we call then again the reference architecture. So it's basically a technical guide for all developers, providing golden rules, recommended approach, model designs, which model should we use, and also how it integrates with our current data and AI reference architecture and our data lakes and so on. And that's the more technical side of the foundations. And then other thing that we have created is looking at, okay, so we wanted to have something for our end users so everybody could test. And so we have created a user handbook with 10 guidelines that I'll show you next, and basically tell how everyone at EDP should or is recommended to do interacting with the ChatGPT and our Mind for EDP. Okay, so this is just a sneak peek of our handbook. Okay, there are. So I'm not going through all these 10 guidelines, but basically they cover from general tool usage to image generation to code generation and basically all the outputs. Of course, one of the most important ones is do not share EDP proprietary data with public GenAI applications. I think that's the most important one, and we're trying to tell this to everyone at EDP. Also, these ones, the last ones are really important. Hallucinations, always double check the contents. Be aware that sometimes it could be presented biased and inappropriate responses. And of course, the knowledge cutoffs that these large language models do have. Okay? So next. Our second goal was to work together with our business platforms from day one, okay? How? By challenging, prioritizing, detailing what we call like the first wave of GenAI use case at EDP. And to do that, we basically had a funnel approach. So we worked with all business platforms. We had back in February, challenge GPT across all business platforms, more than 60 ideas. The platforms themselves had a lot of ideas, and basically what we did was we worked together to get first a prioritization matrix based on impact, high-level impact of that use case and feasibility, if it's feasible for the short term, and then detail top 3, top 2 of each platform. So we ended up with something like this. So over 130 use cases identified, 25 were prioritized by the platforms, and 7 already in the MVP stage, and we have their Mind for EDP that I will show you next, which is basically right now in the production stage. So as you can see, in terms of types of use cases, we had a lot in customer service. I'll show you what we have been working with Singularity, but also one of the main topics is information retrieval and summarization. I think it's something that it's across all platforms, and it's basically something that can be fertilized for all our business platforms. So finally, it's basically the culmination of these first two, right? So we tried to set the foundations. We worked with the reference architecture, with the technical handbook. Then we worked in parallel with our business platforms to get the business cases and the opportunities that they wanted to develop. And now we're starting to explore what we call the wave zero. You saw some MVPs already highlighted there with all business platforms. And I mean, in the end, we really want to say that it's more than theory. We're already working on that. We have 6 in MVP stage, 1 in production, which is this one, and many others to come. Okay, so Mind for EDP is a partnership with Microsoft using Azure OpenAI. It's basically our internal ChatGPT assistant. So we wanted every EDP employee to be using these models, so ChatGPT in this case, hopefully GPT-4 next. Looking at you, Benoit. And basically, we wanted to do it in a safe and compliant way, okay? So to make sure that everyone at EDP is comfortable on using this kind of models and this kind of interaction with LLMs in a safe and compliant way using Mind for EDP. So, but actually before all these MVPs and before all these production-ready applications, we back in February, wanted to get the attention of the business platforms. And so we partnered with Singularity to do a business use case to get the attention from our client solutions platform, so EDP Comercial. And at EDP Comercial, they have the contact center, and they do have a problem, which is often operators and also the back office struggle to look at the conversations from the operators and the clients. And so one of the key metrics that the team really wants to get is how can I typify a conversation with a client. It was it was a product request, was just clarifying some questions, was it like to complain about something, which is unfortunately read very often, and so we really wanted to show them the potential and the technology showcase of what GenAI can do in this case. Okay, so George will show you what I mean, but basically we did a proof of concept that makes it really clear that GenAI can help us in call summarization, customer intentions, product identification, sentiment analysis, also try to get the key call to actions from the operator if it said the good morning or the salutation at the end. And so we will see it next. We use, of course, simulated phone calls. It's a non-production environment. This is really important to say. And yeah, so let's do that.
Switching over. Basically, it was early days of the generative AI, and like Daniel was saying, we need to change minds. To change minds is think of a process that exists, and how can this be impacted by these new abilities to do things a little bit differently? And the use case was of a call center. And basically, in the previous demo, I've shown you the raw thing, the code and all of that. But of course, for the user, it won't happen that way. So we will have for sure layers and integration within the tools that the user uses on its everyday life. So Gen AI will be there, but it will be hidden, it will be integrated, and it works seamlessly. What I have here is
falar com Ana Santos. É que posso ajudar?
Olá, vamos lá ver se me ajuda. Eu recebi. This was a simulated call. It's something that on call centers across the globe, you have audio being recorded for auditing purposes, for quality assurance, for everything. And this is something that was used as historical information that was there and not of much use unless for sampling of quality done by supervisors. So our challenge was, can we do better? And our approach was, I have this audio that is coming. I have the technology to transform audio into text. And what you see below here is the transcript of this call. This can even happen on runtime. I can, every 50 seconds, sample the audio. And with that, why not use generative AI to look at the transcription of this data, ask some questions, that's the question there, the famous prompt, and basically OpenAI gets me the name of the customer, the VAT number of the customer, and the address that he stays. Instead of the operator having a blank piece of paper and getting the notes of it. And if I have this data, why not do automatically the next step? Go to my backend systems and find out what I know about this customer in order for me to service this requirement. So this is a simulation of going back to the backend system, but this would help the operator to better service and to faster service the customer. And in the end, why shouldn't I, as an organization, do a lot of questions of what's happening in here? And basically, I'm asking almost, I don't know, 15 or 17 questions. And something like, did the operator perform the initial salutation? Was something sold during this interaction? Did the customer accept the solution proposed by the operator? What were the products that were mentioned during this call? What was the reason of this call? Was it a complaint, an information request, an instruction that the customer wants to give me? And all of this can be massively done. In the past, I would have someone listening on one-to-one in real time. 10 minutes of conversation was 10 minutes of a supervisor listening to the call, taking notes, and now I can do it massively. For instance, something as simple as a summary. Okay, I generated. When I add metadata to this call later on, I can know what's happening. And this is something that AI enables us to do on a massive scale and to support the business process that today we have. It was a little bit the challenge that ADP wanted to propose to their business. It was one of the kickoff points also for the journey that we are today. Thank you, George.
So thank you so much for everybody. As we've seen, we've helped our customers in this journey. It's amazing, and I'm going to share something very personal. When we started this journey, we were all learning. We didn't know what Gen AI was. We knew what AI was, even if it was a black box. But now we know what generative AI is and how fast the learning curve has been since January to now. And now we're here today showing real cases and use cases that can be applied anywhere or can be applied in industry. So thank you so much for being here, for helping us learn with you and you with us. And it has been a journey that has been fantastic. I know that we're late for coffee break, but Pedro wants to say something.
So let's take a coffee break for 10 minutes. No, seriously, we can start at 11:50, okay? So after, we're going to have Microsoft Vision for Generative AI with Manel, and you're going to have a roundtable with Danielle and all our customers, and then we're going to deliver the book, okay? Thank you. See you in 10 minutes. Thank you. So thanks a lot. It was time being. Let's go start. Everybody else? Leon? The floor is yours, and thank you.
Eu não sei se o português, das mais já em público, welcome everyone. Bom dia. todos, o meu nome é Manuel Dias, é muito bom ver aqui muitas caras conhecidas enquanto vão entrando. Significa que estão todos muito interessados no tema da inteligência artificial, que é uma paixão também pessoal, e o meu objetivo hoje aqui é partilhar convosco um pouco do que é a visão da Microsoft nesta área de inteligência artificial e com particular ênfase na inteligência artificial generativa, no chat GPT, mas na verdade com uma visão muito prática do que é possível fazer hoje em dia. Vocês viram aqui vários exemplos, eu tive a oportunidade de participar em alguns deles, nos primeiros projetos que foram feitos em Portugal, o caso do IRM foi um excelente exemplo, foi feito logo em fevereiro e foi um dos pioneiros na Europa, o caso da EDP também, o caso do GPT, portanto é muito interessante ver como é que nós conseguimos trazer a inovação para Portugal e isso deixa-nos extremamente satisfeito e na Microsoft nós obviamente procuramos esses casos. Dar também os parabéns à Singularity, eu fui colega do Pedro da Microsoft durante 6 anos, e ver o caminho da Singularity para mim na área do Power BI, na área das Analytics e agora de inteligência artificial, juntar-se à Devoteam. Espero que os 3 hyperscalers da Devoteam, o maior seja da Microsoft, e depois os outros, vocês conseguem imaginar. É um pouco isso. Portanto, começando, acho que vocês já todos viram ao partilhar um pouquinho deste slide, acho que o mais relevante aqui hoje em dia, naquilo que nós estamos a viver, já vão mais de 6 meses desde que o ChatGPT foi lançado, já vamos quase ter 8 meses. É perceber como é que realmente a adoção deste tipo de tecnologia foi tão rápida. Quando nós comparamos com a internet, quando nós comparamos com os telemóveis, demoravam bastante, mais de 15 anos, 16 anos a atingir 100 milhões de utilizadores, e depois olhamos para uma tecnologia que em menos de 2 meses conseguiu atingir 100 milhões de utilizadores, que é realmente notável. Eu normalmente costumo pensar, por um lado, está acessível a toda a gente através de um computador portátil, através de um telemóvel, por outro lado, desperta muito da curiosidade humana. E nós gostamos muito de estar sistemas que pensamos que são inteligentes e de estar inteligentes. E, portanto, no início havia muita gente a tentar fazer jailbreak com o ChatGPT. Hoje já conseguimos ter estes eventos e realmente focar no que é possível fazer no curto prazo e no médio prazo desta tecnologia. Eu acho que esse é um ponto fundamental. Também partilhar convosco algo que nós temos muito interessante. Esta curva da Gartner descreve, no fundo, o estado da maturidade das tecnologias. E é muito interessante, ele tem, na verdade, uma curva de crescimento, de inovação, depois atinge o platô, depois tem uma curva de desilusão, quase todas as tecnologias passam um pouco por isso, e depois, obviamente, entra em produção e em produtividade. É interessante ver que a inteligência artificial generativa está lá em cima, efetivamente. A bolinha, a cor da bolinha diz que ela vai ser realmente, durante os próximos 2 a 3 anos, 2 a 5 anos, aliás, não há não, 5 a 10 anos, vai tirar o máximo partido, mas o que eu vos quero dizer é, olhem para tudo o que está a crescer, para aquilo que nós ainda não falamos hoje. Agentes, simulação, inteligência artificial sensorial, data centric AI, então há um conjunto de tecnologias que vão aparecer agarradas à tecnologia de inteligência artificial generativa aos LLMs que vão realmente revolucionar. O Copilot é simplesmente o início, e nós já conseguimos antever, e vou falar um pouquinho sobre o que é possível fazer, mas há mais um conjunto de tecnologias que vão tirar a partir destes novos LLMs e que vão ser muito, muito interessantes. Obviamente, às empresas o desafio é, nós temos de estar lá, temos de promover inovação, temos de tirar a partir desta tecnologia. O desafio é como é que nós vamos conseguir utilizar, como é que nós vamos conseguir avaliar o impacto dessas tecnologias. Esse é muito o desafio hoje em dia de grandes e pequenas organizações que acaba por ser transversal. E, portanto, isto implica, efetivamente, uma mudança de paradigma. Aquilo que nós estávamos habituados a fazer até agora, na área de dados, na área de inteligência artificial, com algoritmos que funcionavam em piloto automático, que eram treinados e colocados em produção, sem intervenção do humano durante o ciclo, nós estamos claramente num ponto de inflexão. E esse ponto de inflexão tem estas 2 características. A primeira tem a ver com a interface homem-máquina, que nós tentámos, durante 70 anos, melhorar. Desde o momento em que começámos a usar o teclado, depois o rato, depois veio o iPhone e começámos a usar o touch. E nós sempre tentámos arranjar interfaces homem-máquina para as máquinas que fossem o mais naturais possíveis. Chegámos lá, com a linguagem natural. Temos, nesta altura, uma capacidade de interagir, é isso que nos surpreende, ainda muitas vezes, é esta capacidade de interagir com a linguagem natural com as máquinas. O outro tem a ver com a gestão de conhecimento. Durante muito tempo nós tentámos, e continuamos a tentar, e hoje vimos aqui alguns, digitalizar processos, digitalizar documentos, digitalizar pessoas, digitalizar qualquer tipo de conhecimento. E nesta altura temos realmente um motor de raciocínio que nos permite tirar partido desse conhecimento para digitalizar. Dentro das organizações, dentro da sociedade, espalhado pela internet, com todos os problemas que tem. Mas efetivamente estamos num ponto de inflexão e estes 2 pontos são fundamentais. Quando falamos de inteligência artificial generativa, eu não vou falar muito, mas acho que é muito interessante vocês verem para um hyperscaler como a Microsoft, uma Google, uma AWS, efetivamente o trabalho que estava até agora antes de ter estes modelos é que nós tínhamos modelos específicos para detecção de objetos, para transcrição, para tradução, e cada um desses modelos era treinado com datasets, era treinado especificamente com uma infraestrutura própria, com um custo próprio. O que nós conseguimos com estes novos modelos, e os LLMs são um dos exemplos dos modelos finais, é que na verdade o nosso dataset é muito maior e eles conseguem, com unsupervised learning, aprender várias tarefas. Nós temos aqui vários exemplos de pegar um pedaço de texto, fazer classificação, fazer extração de entidades, fazer sumarização, traduzir, tudo tarefas que tipicamente estavam em modelos diferentes. Eu agora consigo ter um único modelo numa única infraestrutura cloud que consigo aplicar numa aplicação sem ter que integrar diferentes modelos. E portanto isto significa que hoje em dia estes modelos e os LLMs, e o caso do ChatGPT, que é um modelo que transforma, conseguem na verdade conseguir várias tarefas e várias modalidades. O que é que são várias modalidades? É que eles lidam com texto, lidam com a imagem e conseguem produzir não apenas texto, mas conseguem produzir outros tipos de informação, como é o caso de vídeo, imagens, áudio. E nós só estamos a começar, não é? Porque nós hoje em dia no Midjourney, no Bing Create, no Stable Diffusion, são claramente novos use cases de geração de informação e é isto que caracteriza a inteligência artificial generativa, é a capacidade de gerar informação. E não sei se vocês têm ideia, eu gosto normalmente de apresentar este slide, cheguei no apesar do ChatGPT ter aparecido em novembro de 2022, a tecnologia não é nova, a tecnologia nasceu num paper da Google, Attention Development, para aqueles que já espreitaram lá, essa tecnologia foi colocada no Pro Search da Google, e foi colocada no open source, nós desenvolvemos um modelo que era o primeiro encoder em 2018, que colocámos em muitos dos nossos serviços cloud, que era o BURT, quando na altura com 340 milhões de estudantes, achávamos que era uma coisa enorme, continuámos a crescer, criámos uma área dentro da Microsoft que se chamava AI at Scale, para conseguir lidar com estes grandes modelos de linguagem. Depois criámos um modelo de Turing ALG, que ainda hoje está em alguns serviços cloud, serviços cognitivos, para lidar com a imagem, para lidar com voz, para lidar com linguagem, com fala. E recentemente, em 2020, não é em 2023, apareceu o GPT-3, não o ChatGPT, mas o GPT-3 foi criado, foi lançado, antes foi o 2 e 1, mas o GPT-3 teve mais impacto, foi lançado em 2020. O ChatGPT só veio em novembro de 2022. Mas aqui estávamos a falar de 175 bilhões de parâmetros. Imaginar a complexidade de um modelo destes que demorou cerca de uma semana a treinar, foram quase 5 milhões de dólares para treinar o ChatGPT, dá-vos uma ideia da escala que está por trás de usar estes modelos. Nós continuamos a desenvolver outros modelos, fizemos parcerias com a NVIDIA, fizemos parcerias com a OpenAI, obviamente, fizemos parcerias com a Meta, já vou falar um bocadinho sobre isso, na tentativa de desenvolver mais esses modelos até chegar ao GPT-4. Foi lançado a 13 de março de 2023. E este modelo, efetivamente, tem uma capacidade e um conhecimento muito além do ChatGPT, do GPT-3,5. E basta vocês pensarem e compararem um bocadinho com o nosso cérebro. Eu gosto de fazer uma comparação, embora uma coisa seja um modelo biológico e outra coisa é um modelo matemático que se tenta aproximar do funcionamento do cérebro, não é? Com as redes neurais. O nosso cérebro tem cerca de 60 bilhões de sinapses. No fundo, tem cerca de 100 milhões de neurónios. Cada neurónio tem em média 60 mil ligações com outros neurónios. E quando nós olhamos para essas sinapses todas, se compararmos com os parâmetros, estamos a falar de 60 vezes mais do que o GPT-4. Portanto, imaginem quando vier o GPT-5, o GPT-6 e outros modelos, onde é que nós vamos conseguir chegar. Sendo que eles não funcionam exatamente da mesma forma. Mas é interessante ver isso. E, portanto, isto não se vai aplicar apenas a imagem, a vídeo, estas múltiplas modalidades são muito interessantes e, obviamente, a partir do momento, e para aqueles que já exploraram os embeddings, em que eu consigo, na verdade, pegar a informação não estruturada de vídeo, de imagem, de voz, de texto e codificá-la num vetor, através dos embeddings, eu vou trabalhar, por exemplo, conseguir gerar novas proteínas. Isso já foi feito, desde que foram lançados estes modelos. Não é só geração de vídeo, ou de áudio, ou de texto, é geração de novos conteúdos, de novas modalidades dentro destes conteúdos. Isso é mesmo muito interessante, ver o que é possível fazer com estes modelos. O que a Microsoft fez aqui? Bom, como vos disse, não é só um tema da OpenAI, muitas das vezes nós falamos da nossa parceria com a OpenAI, mas na verdade o que temos feito ao longo do tempo, por um lado, com a NVIDIA para conseguir colocar os GPUs, que hoje em dia é um recurso escasso, dentro dos nossos data centers, para conseguirmos ter a capacidade necessária para colocar LLMs em todos os nossos produtos e para os nossos clientes. Portanto, isto é claramente muito, muito importante. O conseguir disponibilizar a infraestrutura para que outras empresas possam testar os modelos. Foi o caso da OpenAI. Ter toda a infraestrutura de treino e de inferência dos modelos está a correr em Azure, e isso é um ponto muito importante. E vem muito por aí, além dos investimentos que foram feitos depois pela Microsoft. E com a Meta, o caso da Meta também é muito interessante, não só por usar a infraestrutura, mas também por disponibilizarmos hoje os LLMs da Meta, e o Lama 2 já está disponível no Azure. As 3 versões até aos 30 milhões de parâmetros, modelos open source, e já vou falar um pouco sobre isso. Mas a parceria com a OpenAI é especialmente interessante porque abarca vários domínios. E é muito difícil passarmos em meia hora todos esses domínios. Abarca todo o tema de gestão de conhecimento, de texto e de imagem. Abarca o tema dos modelos Codex, que são uma versão especial para gerar, documentar, fazer refactoring de código, e que foi lançado no GitHub já logo em 2021. Eu tenho um programa, sabe perfeitamente do que eu estou a falar. E obviamente depois a parte do DALI, nesta altura já está no DALI 3, dentro do Bing, para fazer geração de imagem. Portanto, esta foi a primeira ideia e obviamente pegar nisto e colocar dentro do portfólio da Microsoft. E obviamente quando falamos de portfólio não vos vou vender os serviços, mas é muito bom dizer que quando falamos de uma solução não é apenas uma solução com a OpenAI, com o ChatGPT, há muitos outros serviços que são fundamentais, as bases de dados, os serviços de OCR que nós vimos há pouco para digitalizar um documento, serviços de comunicação, serviços de speech, portanto há um conjunto enorme que depois posso trazer para dentro da minha solução, que tira partido, obviamente, da OpenAI Service. Aqui faltam 2 ou 3 serviços muito interessantes que eu resolvi esconder os slides por questão de tempo, mas um deles é o prompt flow, que é muito importante para quem faz prompt engineering em escala, e esse é muito relevante, eu recomendo-vos que vocês depois deem uma vista de olhos. E o outro é o Azure Content Safety, que é ter em cima dos modelos, dos LLMs, mais modelos de moderação de conteúdos e que conseguem olhar para se o modelo tem conteúdo racista nas perguntas, nas respostas e, portanto, colocar isso quase como APIs no meu processo de construção do modelo. Mais importante do que isso e do que só o OpenAI, e se vocês olharem hoje para o mercado, existem múltiplos modelos de open source, provavelmente não com a mesma precisão que o GPT-4, mas o nosso objetivo é trazer todas essas opções para o Azure. E se vocês forem ao Azure Machine Learning hoje em dia, além dos modelos da Meta, muitos outros modelos, dezenas de outros modelos, que estão na interface estão disponíveis no Azure Machine Learning. E, portanto, eu, na verdade, até posso preparar alguns deployments, onde eu não preciso, calhar, de tanta precisão, poder tirar partido de outros modelos. O caso do Lama 2 é muito interessante, porque nós vamos, inclusive, suportar isso no Windows, com os modelos como nós paramos, e, portanto, há aqui uma parceria também muito, muito interessante. Dizer-vos qual é a diferença entre estes modelos que correm hoje em dia dentro da cloud do Azure e os modelos da OpenAI. São exatamente os mesmos. A grande diferença é que enquanto os modelos da OpenAI estão a correr no Azure e vocês não têm a possibilidade de adicionar alguns parâmetros, algumas configurações empresariais que são importantes, em que localização, em que data center é que aqueles modelos correm, é GDPR compliant, possa-se ter aqueles modelos apenas a partir de uma rede privada, só este tipo de utilizador é que consegue acessar os modelos, portanto, são tudo funcionalidades que não existem só no Azure OpenAI, que existem em todos os serviços cloud e que são muito relevantes quando vocês criam uma solução empresarial que tem que estar compliant com um conjunto de normas e regulamentos nacionais e europeus. Portanto, essa é uma das grandes diferenças. Os modelos são exatamente os mesmos, mas depois tudo o que é colocado aqui em cima desses modelos é muito relevante para a solução final. Obviamente, outra das ideias, quando nós fizemos esta parceria, e muito rapidamente nós trouxemos logo o GPT-4 de forma gratuita para dentro do BIM, portanto vocês hoje no OpenAI podem subscrever por $20 por mês o GPT-4, no BIM vocês têm o GPT-4 for free. Sendo que o BIM tem uma experiência bastante diferente, porque não olha apenas para o modelo treinado, o ChatGPT, como se recordam, não sabia nada sobre os eventos e os factos de 2022, tinha sido treinado em 2021. Aqui estamos a falar de ter que colocar um LLM em cima da pesquisa que o BIM faz. E, portanto, se eu tenho 10 páginas que respondem à minha pergunta, ele vai conseguir sintetizar essa informação e conseguir ter uma experiência muito mais interessante de pesquisa e de procura. Eu já vos vou mostrar. Obviamente que, entretanto, lançámos o Bing Stack Enterprise. O Bing Stack Enterprise, para todos os nossos clientes que têm Office 365, nos planos E3, nos planos E5, tem que usar. E a grande diferença, ou as duas grandes diferenças, Primeiro é que usa uma conta corporativa, vocês veem lá em cima uma conta corporativa. Não é um Live, não é um Hotmail, não é uma conta Microsoft pessoal. Segundo é que não há registro de nenhuma informação pessoal da empresa. Enquanto no Bichat ou no OpenAI eu consigo saber quais foram as minhas perguntas e respostas, aqui essa informação está sempre a ser dito que não é guardada. A partir do momento em que eu fecho a sessão de browser, essa informação é distribuída, não é guardada no local nenhum. Portanto, é muito interessante para empresas. Eu vi o caso da EDP que colocou, no fundo, o OpenAI disponível dentro da empresa. Isto também é uma alternativa para colocar dentro da empresa e dar. Neste caso, eu estou a comparar, por exemplo, uma proposta de um produto que é confidencial versus um produto que está no mercado e com a informação sem ser partilhada para lá de dentro. Adicionalmente, o modelo DALI, que é um modelo mesmo da OpenAI, foi treinado com texto, mas também com imagem, com a produção de imagens. Hoje em dia está disponível de forma gratuita também no vídeo. Para aqueles que não sabem, este é um exemplo que eu fiz. O Salvador, o Dali vem deste nome, do Salvador Dali, que eles conhecem, pintor, e do Wall-E, que era aquele robô da Pixar. Okay? E, portanto, de alguma forma, estes modelos tentam criar imagens a partir de uma prompt em texto. E, obviamente, existem outras plataformas. Aqui a grande vantagem é que eu consigo ter integrado não só no Bing, mas dentro do próprio Azure OpenAI ter a API para usar o DALI. Portanto, se eu tiver um workflow, um processo de negócio, uma campanha de marketing, no meio do processo, tenha que gerar programaticamente uma imagem e buscar essa imagem, eu tenho uma API no Azure OpenAI, não preciso ir ao Bing para fazer isso. E, portanto, é muito interessante também essa integração. Eu não acho que não tinha visto o caso do... Deixa-me ver, eu acho que tinha aqui o caso... Botei o caso do GitHub. Tinha aqui 2 slides do GitHub que eu acho que eu apaguei, mas não há problema. No GitHub, ia-vos dizer uma coisa antes de chegar aos use cases. O GitHub integrou o ChatGPT, o GPT-4, nesta altura o Copilot. Existe uma coisa chamada GitHub Copilot, que já vai na versão X, que é brutal para as equipes de programação. O que vocês podem fazer, o exemplo que eu tinha ali, foi coincidência com o que a Milena disse, mas era passar de código COBOL para Python. Portanto, é um dos use cases, é produzir código. Outro dos use cases é fazer refactoring de código, documentar código, passar de uma linguagem para a outra, tentar perceber, nesta última versão, resolver um bug. Não é apenas compilar o código e dizer que há um erro naquela linha, é perceber qual é o erro. É muito interessante que equipas que fazem programação. Mas eu diria que o mais relevante é o use case. Nós vimos aqui 4 ou 5 use cases, nós já fizemos alguns eventos e é sempre muito interessante ver as coisas novas que vêm para o mercado. E é que está efetivamente o valor. E quando falamos de use cases, passamos por um modelo empresarial muito diferente do que é o ChatGPT. E neste caso mostra de alguma forma a diferença. A maior parte dos use cases são use cases de gestão de conhecimento interno. Não é conhecimento público, é conhecimento interno. São reclamações, são processos judiciais, são queixas de cliente. Tudo o que eu quero, na verdade, é conseguir analisar a minha informação interna, tirando partido destes modelos linguísticos. Portanto, a forma de fazer isso, a maior parte das vezes, passa por prompt engineering, como vimos aqui, em cima dos nossos dados. Posso só fazer prompt engineering, mas aí não estou a usar os meus dados. Obviamente, o mais relevante é quando eu começo a usar os meus dados. E por isso, muitos use cases que vocês têm hoje em dia, nós chamamos de Enterprise ChatGPT, vocês já vão ver porquê. Na verdade, eu estou a usar o modelo linguístico, seja o GPT-4 ou o ChatGPT, em cima da minha base de conhecimento, em cima da minha base de documentos, de imagens, de textos que eu quero usar. Isso é talvez o mais interessante. O segundo mais interessante, que eu acho que é muito revolucionário, vocês viram o caso da EDP, são os call centers, vão ser completamente redefinidos. Porque a partir do momento em que eu consigo transcrever uma chamada de um call center para texto, aquilo que eu posso extrair desse texto, a quantidade de prompts que eu posso customizar para trazer essa informação em tempo real, ou para fazer analítica em cima dessa informação, é realmente muito interessante. Depois tem o Copilot, e o Copilot não é o Microsoft 365 Copilot, não é só isso, obviamente isso nos vai ajudar imenso, é criar um Copilot do advogado, um Copilot do cidadão, algo que consiga perceber quais são as minhas tarefas, como é que elas se interligam e consigam automatizar o meu processo. E, portanto, também aqui vai haver uma grande evolução, e eu já vou falar sobre isso, geração de conteúdo, vendas, marketing, designers, marketeers, redes sociais. Imagina o que é possível fazer hoje aqui nesta área de geração de conteúdos, que não é só texto, é geração de imagem, geração de vídeo, E depois, obviamente, a hiperpersonalização, mas que já existiu um bocadinho com o tema de inteligência artificial. Há um projeto muito interessante que eu não coloquei aqui, chamado Projeto Devoteam, da Microsoft Research, que olha não apenas para a forma como vocês querem, mas olha para o vosso batimento cardíaco, para a forma como vocês piscam os olhos, para a forma como vocês falam, para a educação, e ele responde tendo em conta isso. Porque hoje em dia eu posso estar muito zangado e ser muito educado pelo chat GPT, ou não. Quando vocês passam a colocar isso dentro do LLM, que é treinado para ter em conta mais parâmetros do que não só o texto, imaginem como é que pode ser a interação no futuro com um robô que nos está a observar, que nos está a ouvir, que nos está a medir com sensores ao nosso corpo. Portanto, muito interessante. Eu vou perder muito tempo. Isto, na prática, é a arquitetura destes dois use cases. Este é o primeiro deles, que é muito conhecido, o RAG. No fundo, é usar o chat GPT, como nos diziam, ou o LLM, em cima de uma informação que está dentro da empresa. Isso, mais uma vez, não implica usar apenas e só o OpenAI, implica pegar a informação toda, digitalizá-la, passá-la por um serviço de OCR, transcrevê-la e depois, em cima dessa base de dados, tipicamente uma base de dados vetorial, também já está no lado do Cognitive Search, isso é um ponto importante. Eu vou, obviamente, usar os serviços do OpenAI para conseguir fazer pesquisa semântica, para conseguir sumarizar, para conseguir extrair informação e colocar isso numa app ou num portal. O caso dos call centers é muito semelhante. A grande diferença é que até aqui eu vou ter que usar um serviço de speech to text, ou seja, eu tenho as chamadas todas gravadas, coloco as chamadas num data lake, num storage, uso um serviço de speech to text, que fez a Microsoft. Depois disso, vocês usam o Azure OpenAI e acima do áudio que foi transcrito, a partir de vocês podem fazer qualquer tipo de coisa. E isso é muito interessante. Muitos use cases na área da banca, na área das telcos, na área das utilities, na área de serviço ao cidadão, imaginem que eu consegui perceber quais são os tópicos como ligam com o meu call center, se eu tenho que perder uma hora a ouvir aquela chamada. Não é? Nós fazemos isto no Teams Premium. Toda a sumarização que hoje em dia é feita das chamadas, todas as ações que ficaram agendadas naquela reunião, quem é que falou, e não preciso estar numa volta de uma hora para conseguir perceber isso. Quando ela é toda sumarizada, transcrita e identificada todas essas ações. E vamos fazer aqui uma pequena demo. Pedro, tenho mais meia hora, não é? Bom, vou começar por aqui. Primeiro só para vos mostrar o Bing Chat, para aqueles que não conhecem. O Bing Chat, nesta versão, está com a minha conta Microsoft pessoal. E eu posso efetivamente ir a partir do chat GPT, do GPT-4 que está embebido aqui. Então, se eu chegar aqui, para aqueles, quem é que ainda não viu o Bing Chat, só para perceber? Já todos a maquiar. Só vos vou mostrar aqui um caso que eu gosto muito. Acho como se fosses um jornalista e faz duas perguntas ao Jorge Pontes, desculpa. As duas questões ao primeiro-ministro António Costa sobre o orçamento sobre o novo aeroporto. Acho que é assim, ok? Isto não para vos mostrar duas coisas. Primeiro, ele realmente tem um modelo linguístico por trás. Segundo, ele vai tentar procurar em fontes de informação recentes, e essa é uma grande diferença do OpenAI, do GPT-4 dentro do OpenAI, que ele vai procurar por estas coisas todas. E, portanto, ele já tem aqui 2 ou 3 perguntas, eu só referi 2 questões de tempo. E o mais interessante é que ele personalizou com o jornalista e agora, obviamente, responde às 2 perguntas. Estão a ver, o humorista Ricardo. Eu nunca sei o que vai acontecer, deixa-me ver. Eu não controlo isso, como vocês vão ver. Vocês podem testar isso. E normalmente há aqui coisas muito. Michel, repara, ele vai buscar informação. Interessante quando eu posso. Agora, reparem, isto está aqui, eu não tenho tempo para fazer mais. Imaginem que eu agora, depois de fazer isto, estou aqui a tirar fazer várias perguntas, tenho a possibilidade de fazer mais perguntas, e muitas destas respostas aparecem em fontes de informação por temas de transparência, que é muito interessante quando eu estou a fazer isso, mas posso fazer coisas do género. mais fácil fazer isto em inglês. Vou ver a nova localização do aeroporto. Aqui, vamos usar os álbum 3, okay? E vamos pedir ao Gui para criar uma imagem. E ele vai fazer isso. Okay? Vai criar tudo que vocês vão ver aqui. Mais uma vez, eu nunca controlo o que está a acontecer. É a vantagem de ser live. Ele vai criar uma imagem, se calhar amanhã já pode ser um press release no jornal, ou nova monitorização, ou um mock-up futurista, portanto não sei se isto vai ser realmente. A outra hipótese que vocês fazerem é vão ao link.com, escrevem /create, e eu acabei de fazer isso há pouco, podem mandar um bocadinho, obviamente, e estão aqui todos os exemplos do que eu tenho. É a mesma pergunta, não é? Eu dava-vos sempre 4 imagens. Esta eu gosto especialmente, aliás, vai chegar espetacular. Espetacular. Não é o que eu vi agora. Portanto, reparem, criou mais 4. Agora, obviamente, eu não fiz fronteiras nenhum, uma simples frase, como vocês estão a ver aqui. Mas reparem a capacidade. Obviamente, eu não vou mostrar o azul do OpenAI Studio, mas vocês têm lá a chave para poderem integrar dentro do. Portanto, vamos acelerar. São exemplos do que vocês podem fazer. Eu tenho aqui vários exemplos, alguns deles muito interessantes. Ontem diverti-me com este, que é um tubarão a conduzir um carro de barco no fundo do oceano. E reparem bem a forma como ele conjuga comportamentos humanos com objetos ou comportamentos de animais. Com uma precisão, o DALI 3 claramente está bastante bom. Acho que não está ao nível do Midjourney, mas o que vocês conseguem fazer hoje de forma gratuita para a criação de conteúdos é impressionante. O exemplo do IRN, bom, o Jorge já falou um pouquinho sobre o IRN, eu mostrei este caso, eu adoro este caso, foi o primeiro em Portugal, foi um dos primeiros na Europa, sobre casamentos e divórcios, mas vocês podem chegar aqui e fazer perguntas sobre casamentos e divórcios, nunca há perguntas sobre casamentos, não há perguntas, vocês sabem isso. Sobre divórcio há vários, e recentemente o IRN passou isto para inglês e passou para a criação da empresa nova, e o Jorge falou um bocadinho sobre isso, até é muito interessante, aqui tem coisas super interessantes, como o caso de ter um link para as plataformas, não responder apenas, mas guiar o cidadão para algumas plataformas da Justiça, do Ministério da Justiça, ou outras onde possa completar aquele processo. E esse é o próximo passo também, é como é que nós tornamos estes LLMs, como é que os integramos com sistemas transacionais. E aqui, este é um exemplo. Outro exemplo muito interessante foi o DAMA. O DAMA, também todos estes exemplos que eu estou a mostrar são públicos, portanto vocês podem chegar lá e brincar. Vamos lá ver se eu consigo fazer aqui. Este caso da AMA tem um caso interessante que nós colocamos um avatar. É muito gira, mas é gerada por inteligência artificial, para vamos dizer. E falta-lhe um deste, só que ele não aparece. Pensar novamente, tem que segurar que sai. E a parte interessante aqui é que, para além de suportar múltiplas línguas e já ter as fontes todas identificadas.
Desculpe, ocorreu um erro. Por favor, tente mais tarde o contacto-nos por e-mail.
Pronto. Não é a melhor demo, como vocês vão dizer. Eu dizia que isto às vezes acontece nos centros públicos, se vocês ligarem para lá, pode acontecer. E não controlo, portanto, estava a funcionar há pouco, que hoje eu não sei se eu também fiz refresh, mas tem esta particularidade, imaginam que é tentar humanizar o serviço, tentar pôr aqui alguém, vocês pensem nisto para a educação, pensem nisto para suporte ao cliente, pensem nisto para suporte ao cidadão. E que eu tenha alguém que me vai ajudar a estar com ele ali. Nem vou insistir mais. O último exemplo, eu não vou mostrar o exemplo do call center, que já viram aqui um bocado de EDV, mas este é especialmente interessante. Especialmente simples, é o Hugging GPT. Portanto, imaginem um GPT com uma personalidade muito irónica, em que eu não estou a fazer nada de especial, a não ser injetar na prompt. Vocês vão precisar de um login, mas está bom. Eu gostava que tivesse. Poder chegar aqui e dizer qual é a melhor equipa de Portugal. Também nunca sei o que vai acontecer. Portanto, eu tenho um chat GPT por trás, com o próprio engineering, a dizer: olha, responde sempre com um tom irónico.
I can't believe you're asking me this. The best football team in Portugal is obviously Futebol Clube de Porto. They have a rich history, numerous titles, and a dedicated fan base. Is that what you wanted to hear? Or are you just trying... Oh, please! Are you seriously trying to argue with me? Benfica being the best football team in Portugal? That's laughable. Football Club do Porto has achieved far more success and has a much stronger team overall. So, sorry to burst your bubble, but Benfica doesn't even come close. Seriously? You want to get into the whole airport debate? I can't even. The new airport in Lisbon should obviously be located in Montijo. It's the most practical and cost-effective option, and it will alleviate the congestion at Portela. Any other location would just be a waste of time and resources. Can we move on now? Alcaquete? That's such a terrible idea. The new airport should absolutely not be located in Alcaquete. It's far too close to the Tagus River and the surrounding natural reserves. We don't need another environmental disaster waiting to happen. Choose a more sensible location, for crying out loud.
Reparem bem que, no exemplo do Vitor, a parte interessante disto é que ele usa a informação atual, procura essa informação, responde com factos bastante conhecidos, não é uma coisa que está ali simulada, mas responde sempre de forma irónica. Muito interessante. O que é que está por trás? Pronto, entendi. Consegui dizer e dar as instruções para a forma como ele responde sobre qualquer tema, como nós vimos ali. Portanto, é muito interessante, vocês podem tentar colocar isso no helpdesk da vossa empresa. Esta era a demo do Gita, é uma demo em que eu passo de COBOL para Python. Eu tinha aqui o slide e estava escondido e não vi. E reparem, eu estou dentro do Visual Code, vou usar o GitHub Copilot e passo de um pedaço de código para o outro. E agora posso começar a documentar e fazer. Há muita coisa mesmo, daria uma ação inteira só sobre o GitHub Copilot. Avançando, outra área muito importante, a área do Microsoft Copilot. E aqui falámos muito de soluções empresariais, agora vamos falar de soluções para os produtos que nós usamos todos os dias a nível individual. Muito da produtividade do Microsoft 365. E aqui a Microsoft tem uma estratégia bastante interessante de conseguir colocar embebido dentro das ferramentas, do Excel, do Office, do Teams, do Dynamics, na parte de cibersegurança, conseguir colocar estes modelos de linguagem em cima da vossa informação, que está toda no Microsoft Graph, respeitando todas as permissões, todas as configurações de segurança, portanto, tem LLMs sobre os vossos dados embebidos dentro das aplicações que nós usamos e com a possibilidade de ligar a internet, por exemplo, através do Bing Chat Enterprise. O caso do PowerPoint é muito interessante, eu vou passá-lo muito rapidamente, mas isto é aquilo que vocês podem fazer. Tecnologia de foto aqui.
Using just your own words, Copilot can translate word into PowerPoint. Now you have a professional-looking presentation that you can post and polish. Let's say you want to add a slide. Give Copilot some quick instructions and it immediately generates it for you. There it goes. Copilot doesn't always get everything right, so it's important to verify you are happy with it and make any edits that are needed. So this slide is too wordy. You can ask Copilot to make it more visual, which it does effortlessly. And check this out, Copilot can even animate the slide. It gives it a professional design treatment in a single click. But it doesn't stop there. Copilot automatically generates speaker notes for all your slides. It's not only a time saver, it's helping you be a better presenter.
Vai chegar ao mercado português no dia 1 de novembro, onde nós fizemos um mega evento que juntou ao auditório de manhã e tarde, de manhã sobre a Microsoft 365 Copilot, à tarde sobre o Dynamics Copilot. E é interessante aquilo que nós vamos poder usar, e eu estou bastante expectante. Aquele meu preferido de coração, alguns de vocês sabem qual é, o Power BI. E não tendo uma carreira de visualization, vai desaparecer. Vocês vão conseguir ter com o Copilot do Power BI e vou mostrar.
Let's take a look at how Copilot and Power BI is empowering everyone to quickly find and share insights. For example, Sam, an HR analyst who is constantly handling requests from my management to do analysis and provide answers. It can take hours, even days, to respond with new reports. Now, with Copilot and Power BI, I can simply describe the report I want to build and get insights.
Maybe I need to break down some of our
employee data to understand demographics and hiring trends. I just describe what I need, then Copilot will automatically analyze my data and create a new report based on my needs. Immediately, I have a beautiful Power BI report that's been automatically created and is fully interactive. I can start slicing and dicing my data to explore deeper. Copilot added the charts and slicers I asked for, but also conveniently gives me options to adjust the output to get just what I need. For example, let's switch to ask for metrics and trends in a slightly different layout. Automatically, Copilot updates the report. Let's go ahead and keep this report page, and it goes much further. I can also ask questions such as, why is our attrition rate going up? Copilot responds by adding a new page to my report and tapping into Power BI's built-in advanced analysis capabilities for finding key influencers for variables in my data. In addition to giving me a summary and an insight about different employee types having different attrition rates, I can easily explore Power BI's key influencer visual to see what's driving the biggest impact on our attrition rate. I can even automatically see the most significant segments in my data just by clicking. Now let's go back to the first page and finish up our new report. I'm going to ask Copilot to make it look like our existing exec dashboard. And instantly, it's applied the same formatting and style and adjusted the layout to match. Best of all, I can still interact directly with the Power BI report that Copilot has created. So, for example, if I wanted to manually change this bar chart to a tree map on my own, it's easy to do with just a few clicks. Let's add employee functional area, and now I can filter by this new field. Finally, to make the report even easier for my team to understand, I'm going to ask Copilot to add a rich text description of my data right inside the report. This narrative summary is fully dynamic, and not only does Copilot highlight interesting insights from my data, it will update the summary every time the data is refreshed or people filter the report. And just like that, in seconds, I've created a report that would have taken hours or days to do manually. Copilot built on top of Azure OpenAI is truly revolutionary for how we empower everyone.
Imaginem o que é possível, o que vai ser possível fazer em termos de produtividade. Como eu dizia há pouco, a estratégia não é só ter o Copilot do 365 ou do Dynamics, é realmente possibilitar a utilização do Copilot, ter a stack toda, para que um cliente possa criar um Copilot, por exemplo, o cliente, quando vai à sua plataforma de portal de clientes, portal de fornecedores, e conseguir fazer, numa linguagem natural, aquilo que vocês fazem dentro de uma ferramenta destas, mas no domínio do negócio dele. E, portanto, isso é uma coisa muito interessante. Nós temos a stack preparada para isso, com modelos fundacionais que podem ser, não só o ChatGPT, podem usar outros modelos, inclusive modelos open source, para ter esta camada e a partir daí desenvolver as minhas aplicações móveis, os meus portais, informações analíticas que tirem partido dos modelos, tirem partido dos vossos dados e que sejam o vosso Copilot. Isso é muito, muito interessante. Para terminar, eu já estou atrasado, sei que lá fora, obviamente com o Copilot, todos vamos ser essa de Queiroz ou Sem Marcos, a forma como escrevemos, sem dúvida alguma, vai aumentar a média. O mais importante é que nós consigamos, e é muito importante, ter as competências para fazer as prompts como deve ser. E a área de prompt engineering vai ser uma das mais importantes que vem aí. O segundo ponto que eu gosto de provocar muitas das vezes é dizer que quem não estiver ligado à área, quem não estiver a usar, isto é provocatório, mas pensem num exemplo que eu gosto muito, que é, há 10 anos atrás, muitos dos sites não eram mobile. E hoje é impensável nós acedemos mais de 90% do tempo aos websites através do telemóvel não ter uma interface de mobile. Daqui a 3 anos, se calhar, não faz sentido um website e, em vez de percorrer as 100 opções do menu de navegação, não escrevam o que é que quer naquele website. E é isso que nós estamos a dizer. Portanto, é preciso fazer esse caminho. Nós vamos, sem dúvida alguma, o mundo vai ser prompt-based. Eu não vou estar no Photoshop a desenhar tudo, eu vou estar a dar a instrução, em vez de andar com o rato a desenhar e a mudar esta propriedade. E esse é um ponto muito importante que eu vos queria deixar. Claro que o GPT-4 é muito melhor do que o GPT-3, 90% está acima de 90% dos alunos, enquanto que o GPT-3 estava nos top, nos piores 20%. Isto para vos dizer um bocadinho, está ali, com comportamentos muito emergentes, e vou deixar isto para vocês levarem para pensar, quando nós escalamos o número de parâmetros, quantitativamente começamos a ver comportamentos que não conseguimos explorar, não conseguimos justificar só pelos dados. Há um paper da Universidade de Stanford, muito interessante, da Microsoft, outro artigo que eu acho que é muito interessante e que queríamos falar, parece que está no seu neocódigo para fazer programas de otimização, para compor música, tudo através do GPT-4, com padrões emergentes que nós não conseguimos perceber efetivamente como é que ele chegou àquele padrão. Muito, muito interessante se vocês depois tiverem curiosidade. E para terminar, dizer-vos isto, eu acho que cada vez mais esta frase faz sentido. A diferença entre ficção científica e a realidade é só uma questão de tempo. Há um slide que eu tirei da McKinsey muito interessante que mostra as nossas expectativas de atingir determinados milestones tecnológicos. O da inteligência artificial estava para daqui a 40 anos, a inteligência artificial generativa com esta capacidade estava para daqui a 40 anos. E existem várias tecnologias que nós prevemos que sejam 10 ou 20 anos e provavelmente não vão ser 10 ou 20, mas vão ser 3 ou 4. Portanto, vai ser muito interessante estar cá para testemunhar e ver o que vai acontecer em conjunto, porque eu acho que em conjunto nós conseguimos realmente inovar. E termino aqui. Obrigado a todos mais uma vez.
Thanks, Daniel. Daniel, we are asking you to please sit down our guests. So, Pedro, you want to sit down? Sérgio, Roger, Daniel, Simon. So Daniel, I want to start with your questions with this panel, fantastic panel for ending this morning conference.
Yeah, so we've heard from many of you about your applications, and some of you we have not. So I'm going to ask you a double question to start with. If we have not heard from you about your use cases, please share that with the group. And if we have heard from you, what is your big takeaway? What's your lessons learned that you would recommend to people having built a few use cases? And please introduce yourself as well again as you answer the questions. Sure. Thank you very much. You're up.
Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, I came with my own microphone.
Hello everyone, so my name is Simon Billot. I'm the head of IT Technical Operation at Ferring. I'm also the head of IT Center of Excellence here in Lisbon. TechOps is basically supply chain and manufacturing, and Ferring is a pharma company. So just before to go and to answer the question, just a few words about the pharma industry, because pharma is a bit of a special case. It's not the most dynamic industry, I would say. The development of products in pharma takes 15 years, so you can imagine that everything else is also a bit slower. It's also a really highly regulated industry where everything is controlled by governance and a federal agency, so you maybe heard about the FDA, and if you don't comply with those process and regulation, you can just lose your license to operate. So that's really something strict. And in the past, it slowed down the innovation, at least in the tech industry. But now we see really a lot of investment from most of the big pharma in data and in AI. And for us, we are not different. We are starting to invest now. We are starting to start new capability. And we haven't yet fully developed use cases. We are developing the first one. And the first one are the kind of the classic one. That's the one that are close to process efficiency, production and proficiency. And the first one we are doing is typically to develop a chatbot or an interface to be able to consult and to ask questions to our reference data. And in pharma, we have a lot of standard operating procedure describing everything we need to do. That require a lot of training when we start on it. And that's something we want to accelerate. We want to reduce the number of training there are when we are starting to work for the company, and ease the access to the information after that. So that's the first step. We are bringing that into our startup platform like SharePoint and other. But there is much more that can be done in the core process of pharma. And that's something we can discuss maybe a bit later, but all the value chain could be really highly impacted by AI, generative and machine learning.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Pedro Fagusto. I'm in charge of strategy and business development in CPT, Portuguese postal operator. So, let me just first start with to thank Singularity for the opportunity to share some thoughts and participate in this event. And well, for us that we are, let's say, a 5th century company, not as a company as we are today, it's quite thrilled to be discussing the future. And as we have put it in our purpose as a company, which is delivering the future, connecting people and businesses in a sustainable way. So AI, we believe, will be part of the transformation we've been undergoing in our sector. We have come from, let's say, a monoproduct company. Well, probably most of the people in the room never used that web service, a traditional web server that never written a letter or sent a letter. But just to give you an idea, 5 years ago, mail, let's say traditional mail, was like more than 2/3 of our top line. Now it accounts for less than 40%, and whilst our revenues are growing. So we've turned into a very diversified company, ranging from traditional mail to parcel delivery, to logistics, e-commerce, banking services, business solutions, and that's the way we're going and where we go. Well, technology will help us in this path. If I would summarize what the market wants for us, and I would focus, for simplicity's sake, in our, let's say, delivery business, apart from our other business areas, we kind of resumed it in 3 words: better, faster, and greener. Better in the sense that we need more accuracy, we need simplicity, we need predictability in our deliveries, and well, we like to aim to transform the delivery process as simple as picking the product off the shelf. We need to make it as hassle-free as we can imagine for our customers. We have this particularity of having 2 customers, one sends and one receives. We treat them both as customers, independently of who pays the bill, because if only both are satisfied, we've done our job. Faster because, well, everybody wants it now, and what we see is our value chain, our logistic chain is being compressed and squeezed into a shorter lead time, because resellers want to sell to as late as possible and send as late as possible, and e-buyers want to receive as soon as possible. So we're in the middle. So that implies that all our activities are pretty much more agile, and in some cases we have to not better our process, but redefine this process. And in this balance between these 3 things, we have a strong commitment to turning our activity and our footprint much more sustainable. And so it's the balance between these three axes that we're trying to put out with our strategy, and AI. Certainly, we've been putting technology for a long time in our processes, and AI is certainly one of the key aspects that will help us bring this strategy to place.
Okay, so Francisco again from EDP, head of GenAI Center of Competence. So I've presented some use cases. I would say basically we are right now finishing up and closing our wave 0, what we call wave 0 of MVPs. Mainly focused on summarization, uncertainty features, contact center, mainly focused on customer services and middle and back office. Okay, getting what our customers have to say about our products and services, and getting the efficiency up. And regarding takeaways, actually it was a hidden slide that I had, but so from this wave 0 of MVPs, I would say that the main takeaways that we're having is, first of all, managing expectations from the business. Okay, I think that's people. I mean, the hype is real, right? So ChatGPT and other models. Right now, the business has the expectation that the accuracy, for example, for typifying the client's requests should be 95 or 100%, and that's not true. Okay, so and this leads me to the next takeaway: is data. It's all about data. It's still really important to have a good quality data. I mean, the old garbage in, garbage out. Because what we saw is that even if you have GPT 3.5 or even GPT 4, if you don't have a good quality level data set for context, you don't have good outputs. Okay, you can have the best prompt engineer working on that, but the results will be bad. And then this leads me to the third takeaway. It's prompt engineering is a trial and error process right now. Of course, there are. This is an ever-evolving field. We are seeing new templates every day. We're seeing new things and new ways of doing. I mean, Manuel showed the prompt flow, which will help in this process. But right now, it's iterating and getting our hands dirty and check how we can do and check if it gets better with a small refinement on the prompts and going in this process ever so, which is basically what we did with machine learning, right? But right now with natural language. And finally, one of the key takeaways and perhaps one of my main concerns regarding Gen AI and how we can productize these applications, and we saw some examples, is how can we ensure that we have an end-to-end authentication and authorization process, data segregation across all the resources. So, I mean, how can I assure that Francisco will access the same information directly into the knowledge database that we have, okay? And I really have to make sure that I do have the same information and access to the same information in my new chatbot that I'm creating for all employees or for a specific company inside EDP that needs information from that knowledge database. I mean, in the end, it's all about segregating data, but to have an end-to-end process that needs to refresh that knowledge database and then make sure that every single employee has the same access, that's a challenge, I think. And so, I mean, for us, these takeaways are really useful because, again, it's a learn by doing process. We're right now starting to launch the next wave, what we will call the phase 1. And these are really insights that we got from these first MVPs.
I remember similar things back in the days of doing consolidated sales, right? It was the same. Does everybody have the same information? Did all the areas report in? And so some of these things keep coming back.
Hello again. Well, the key takeaways from this project. We've started using OpenAI GPT in September. So the hype with GPT started in November, I believe, or October, something like that. On September last year, we've presented a project publicly that generates company names. So we have a team of employees that think of company names, see if they are not similar with existing companies, and they register those companies. And then the imagination of that team was not top-notch right now, and so we've created a model with GPT-2 back in September, and then that started all the things using this kind of LLMs and transformers and so on. In February, we've presented with the chatbot that Manel talked about, and currently with this POC, we start looking of using this kind of technology on the other side of the business. Right now, we want to digitize all of our services to the public. Currently, we have only about 40% of our service online, and so we want in 2 years' time to have almost 100% of the services online, so that no one has to go to a conservatory or one of the public booths to request something of ERM. And this is a challenging because, as I was talking about earlier, we want to, first of all, get those services online and then start thinking about to do some innovation, because there are a lot of lack of people to help us to do everything, and so we have to do it step by step. But we have a lot of innovations right now. I don't know if you know, but all of you can do a very high number of services online through video conference. So we have a platform that anyone can ask to have, for instance, a divorce. It's quite suitable to have a divorce through video conference, where you don't have to be in the same room. So you can do it online right now. And so this is a process that we want to keep moving forward. It's not easier. We have a lot of needs in terms of people and expertise inside the public administration. But for ERM, we want to make us, to put us in the center of the public administration. Most of the data that we manage are the master data of all of process inside the public administration, and they should be the master data for most of the process in other private sectors. For instance, if you want to open an account in a bank, you shouldn't have to provide any information. You just need to give the ID card or cartão de cidadão, and it would be enough to do everything. So we must get the data and get the technology there to make this possible. So it's going to be easier and simpler for everyone to do what they want to do. For instance, there are not many, the usage of digital certificates are not very high in Portugal, but for the last 15 years, every one of us has in their pockets a card that provides with a certificate to sign any kind of documents, to authenticate in public and private online portals and so on. So we must start using that quite a lot. Other public entity already provide the technologies to simplify the way people authenticate, and this is something that us as a public entity must keep on doing, so that it will be easier for everyone to do their jobs and to do their business. So the next few years will be around this, and I hope we can manage to get the data and the technology back.
Well, can you hear me? Yes? Well, just to share a bit what I've seen in the couple, probably last 6 months in Portugal regarding use cases. We had a lot of meetings with customers. I think the first big challenge, and ERM was one of the first, with EDP and some others, was really to figure out what is the business value that I can get from this POC, even before going to production. The second big challenge is really to explain to customers that we are using new technology that is not deterministic, it's probabilistic. So when we talk with the justice, probably justice was the last recommended area where we should put ChatGPT. It was the first one, and I remember we really built the knowledge base so that ChatGPT could answer well according to the database. So I think really experimentation is very important, and I'm seeing a lot of these cases. Before going to production and really to define a traditional IT project like you do in a CRM or any other solution that you know what needs to be done, here your attitude should be, I have to learn. And I have to learn, I have to have people, customers, employees to test it. The second big thing it's about skilling, always about skilling people. Skilling on the expertise, advanced skilling like Singularity, so having our partners all prepared to deliver this very advanced project. And it was not easy because some of them have big projects, delivering big projects, and innovation probably only it's opportunistic, it's not a strategy, so it's really looking at innovation as a strategy and going to customers with this. The second thing is really skill the customers and you all, because we are really using a new technology. And we can only, I used to say that the AI won't replace us, but someone that knows to use AI will replace us. So it's very important to be aware of that, because young people coming from the faculties will be master using this type of technology. Okay? And I think that's very important. I love one of the things that we launched in Microsoft 365, which is the Copilot Lab, that allows you to train your prompts. Instead of doing something that goes to production, it's like a class where you can follow a set of instructions to start learning how to leverage your information. And I think that we also see innovation. We need to experiment. The second one is about skilling organization and skilling citizens. I don't know if you saw the last report from World Economic Forum. I always look at it, and the three core skills for the future. At this time, last year was about AI, machine learning. Now it's problem solving, analytical thinking, and then it's technological literacy. Not only about AI, because this will be spread in your iPhone, in your office, in your applications, and we really need to understand how to use it.
Okay. Well, thank you. So during my talk, I had the conversation. Did you have comments, Pedro?
No, just we are running out of time.
Okay. Okay, this is the last question. So I brought up I warned you that how you think about the future is dangerous, but I'm going to let you do it anyway. We can talk about that meeting at lunch. And so very briefly, if you can give your idea of 3 years in the future where you see AI in your organization. Very briefly.
Okay, I'll quote. Last week I was in a roundtable with Professor Lee Oliver, which is a famous, really renowned professor from technical, and I will quote him because it was basically the same question that you did. It was, I honestly don't know, but this means that technology is advancing so fast that, I mean, we have like 1 year ago. We weren't expecting this boom. I mean, of course, Transformers were first published in 2018 by Google, but I mean, in the last few months, it's scaling so fast that we really don't know. What I do know in terms of Gen AI, especially at ADB, is that we're basically seeing two kind of main use cases for the next few years, which is boosting our personal productivity, own employees' productivity through co-pilots, through other tools that basically boost our day-to-day work. And then a second part, which we consider the core use cases that are more invested in our industry, in our business platforms. So for right now, what I see is that in the next year, especially, we will try and solidify all this hype and all this information, all this new technology, and try to make stuff. Try to go and use that technology and Gen AI applications to really see how we can use it in our day-to-day. Okay. Especially in the text part, I can see that in the next months we will see more and more image and video generation and use cases. But right now, in the next year or so, I really envision that we will need to get more than MVPs, production-ready applications to see and test it, how we can use this technology. And then, I mean, who knows, right? Last week, it was announced a new open source model with 7 billion parameters that performs better than many 13 or 70 billion parameters. So things are evolving every week. I was commenting during the coffee break that, I mean, we've launched our reference architecture, but if I wanted to review it right now, I would have like the 2 or 3.0 version, because things in August right now are completely updated, some of them. So I think that's it. Thank you.
Well, I agree. I don't know if who we, but there are two things that for us are very important in CTT. The first one has to do with people, and being a company, like every company with our activities very people-based, is to lead this change process, because this is more than a business or technological process, change process that is very critical. So that's one of the topics that if in 3 years we will discuss. I would like to share that we have made some progress in there to get people to understand that most likely or irreversibly we will learn to do things or reinvent the way we do things. It's not incremental. What's coming. And the second one would be some of the use cases that we are already developing. We would like we define 4 areas that are critical for us: customer processes, customer-facing areas between our field force, our retail stores, everybody that our call centers, everybody that deals with customers, operations, and then support functions like HR, IT, and so we would try to have a balanced portfolio of projects, use cases, so that some of them in 3 years are making at least visible results in that already. I think it was Manuel that showed the hype cycle are in the plateau of productivity, because this also brings in and reinforces trust and a lot of the other ones that probably are in other phases of the cycle to move into the plateau.
We'll try to be quick. There is different type of pharma company. Ferring, we are the leader in medicine, reproductive medicine, and we are covering the full value chain, meaning from producing drug to distributing drugs. And there is probably use cases in all the different steps of this value chain. You from the direct discovery, you can accelerate, you can find new drugs faster, more different ones. You can also accelerate the clinical trials, where you have a lot of data that you can combine to do it. You can also produce better by having better processes, being better in deviation and management of the quality. And in commercial, you can also sell better, having better interaction with the healthcare professional. But you don't know exactly what will be the realization of those potential. So what we need to develop is more the way to do it. We are, in pharma, most of the company are really waterfall, really more old school. We need to learn to do profit value. We need to learn how to try fast, to fail fast, and to adapt. And that will be a major mind change. That will be really a change management that we need to drive for all the teams. So we need to have combined team with IT/digital/data people, business people, QA people, regulator people, because the regulation is super important. And we need to create those teams and change the way we work, to be able to test, to see where is the value, to measure the value, to show the value to the business, and then to adopt or to reject. And that will be, I think, because we are in financially short, that will be really the dimension that we need to tackle in this to see where we can realize the value that we imagine. And the other one, you touched about it also, I fully agree, is about the change for the role of the people. What will be the role of someone in a lab doing R&D in 5 years? I don't know. They will be much more data / AI savvy probably, because they will not be only to do the research, will be also to adapt the model and help to improve it. So really exciting, a lot of potential, a lot of change that is required, but a lot of opportunity to do better and to, in our case, save more lives. So really, really enthusiastic about it.
Yes.
Thank you. Very briefly. Well, I think that's right now my focus is increase the productivity on ERN. And so these LLMs and the projects and what we can do with it suits enough, it's very suitable to increase this productivity. Justice and Minister of Justice and all the partners on Minister of Justice are based on language. And so there is that funny joke that 2 lawyers have 3 opinions and stuff like that. If you get one conservador and one in the court and so on, we'll have 3 or 4 or 5 opinions. And so language is the business model behind what we do. And so if you can do something about with these LLMs, with GPT and so on, if you can transform the registry areas, if you can increase the productivity, if you can manage data, courtrooms were also going to, don't want to stay behind, and we're also going to increase the speed of the innovation. And so for us, it's paramount to change the business model of ERN and to do something about this, to get the registry right, and so the courtrooms will come along, and I think it will be very good for the country if not something like that.
So my answer for you to be very quick, we have a very famous football player in Portugal that said that predicting is very hard, especially of the future. You know, João Pinto.
After he was quoting Yogi Berra, the famous American baseball player, yes.
But I cannot imagine what will be in 3 years. I always remember the Amara law that said that we are very optimistic in the short term. We think we are very good doing in the last week, in the next week. But we are very pessimistic regarding the long term because we can do much more than we can anticipate looking to the future. So from a Microsoft perspective, I really like what we are doing in terms of strategy, in terms of providing this in the products. But I think we are in the infancy of these models. So there will be a lot more coming. And I'm really excited to see what is coming into the high end of that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just make one other final statement, which I think we're at a very interesting inflection point, where we're kind of hobbled on one hand by our assumptions about our businesses and the historical world that they come from. And on the other hand, we're talking about a technology that a year ago we weren't talking about. And so when I ask you about 3 years, I mean, that's multiple generations of generative AI based on the current pace of change, right? So that's a very interesting place to be. And so I encourage you all to not be stopped by your imaginations or to let your imaginations go, because if we just stick too close to what we think works for our businesses, I think we won't take advantage of it quite the way that we could do. So thank you all very much, and I'll turn it over to Pedro.
Leon, George, thank you for your testimony. I think the great things that you are doing will all help. Thank you very much. So for the end of it, we have some technical problems with this just one slide. I think we're going to solve. At least the last slide, yeah.
Oh, where do I bring it? Yeah.
So, as I told, we wrote the book in Power Business with Generative AI. So, with Daniel, me, Patricia, we will present with knowledge. but 160 pages about how can you implement generative AI using best practices for business. So we have methodology. In Daniel's presentations, we heard about that you have a chapter of this. So please, we're gonna give away in the exit for each of you, signed by me, Patricia, and Daniel. Patricia, do you want to present the slide? Possible? It's less.
Well, one day we were talking about a project, Pedro and I, on Teams, and then after 5 minutes of deciding how we reallocate resources to make the project a success, he says, "Do you know, I was thinking of writing a book." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Yeah, let's talk about the book. We should put all this knowledge that we've been accessing into a book. Which I said afterwards, well, this being so fast, in 2 weeks the book will be obsolete. So the great challenge and the great pleasure to be co-author of this fantastic book with, Eduardo's pretty things and design is that we've managed to put together a list of lessons learned so far, how to implement, how to make sure this is not going to be a flop today and a success tomorrow, but a success today and tomorrow. And what we've done is to give a little bit of history of what is AI, generative AI. I think you've got a bit of a glimpse today from Daniel, but the potential we have and the benefits we have, and it's not only let's make this quicker, it's more than that. So you have it here to find out. Implementing, we've seen a glimpse as well of the methodology that we've put together, but we made it real. There's a checklist on this book that before you embark in this journey, or whilst you're doing the journey, that you can look at the end and you have a checklist. Have I done this? And I think of that. And if not, let's go back to the drawing board and do it. We have use cases, we have some analysis on it. Obviously, this is the one that is going to be involving. So this is a promise that this becomes paper, which we're killing trees, I know, that becomes digital. So it's going to be a live book, and it's a promise that we're going to continue writing new things and adapting new things to what things will come. And then new organization model. Who said that prognostics only at the end of the game, right? Prognosis after the game. We are adapting. We need to be agile. We need to adapt to the new models. We need to be sure that we're not finite. We need to adapt. And it's beyond productivity. It's about how we use that part of the brains that we're not using. And I need to tackle. And the unfolding landscape of the future businesses, and this is where we're going to evolve. So be assured that it's revigorating to write a book. I planted a tree already, so I can go. And please feel free and take one copy for yourself, signed by us, by the check-in area as you come in. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here, an honor to be writing this book with you two, and an honor to have the customers here and you as well. Thank you so much.
So thank you all for being here. Count on us. Let's have a lunch. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.